Traveling the Vortex.
Welcome to Canada. It's a maple leaf state. Canada, Canada. It's great. The people are nice and they speak French too. If you don't like it, man, you slip through the Great White North. Their kilts are plaid, hosers take off. It's not half bad. I want to be where yaks can run free.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex, and landed episode number 137. I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel properly dressed without a couple of cans of nitrogen. And a smile. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Ready to blow something up.
I don't feel properly dressed. I didn't bring mine.
You should never go anywhere without your nitro.
No, why?
You listened to the doctor? You didn't bring it? Ace never listens to the doctor. She always has.
That's one of the things that makes her so endearing.
Yeah.
So awesome.
I would agree.
From moment one.
How was your guys' weekend?
Pretty good.
Long.
Yeah.
Long?
Long and tiring, clearly. Caitlin celebrated her birthday this weekend. Her birthday was on Friday, so I took her to lunch. And then Saturday, she had some friends over for a party. We did a 50s theme party.
Oh,
and the
very
girls,
cool.
Girls all dressed up and wore poodle skirts and the whole
How old is she now?
9 years. She turned 10. She turned 10 on Friday.
Not old enough to remember the 50s.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well, no.
And so we decorated, you know, we got one of those scene setter things that you can put on the wall, and it's like a soda fountain. We put that in the kitchen. We hung stuff from the ceiling and little records and stuff like that. And then we had, the girls made what's called 1, 2, 3 cake for cake. So instead of Caitlin having a cake, she wanted to make 1, 2, 3 cake. What it is you put angel food mix and a regular mix together, and you add a certain amount of like water, and you can cook it. You can make it in the microwave in like 1 minute, and then you pull it out. It's a cake, and then each of the girls had a little bag of icing. They got to ice their own cake, and then sprinkles and stuff to put on the top of it.
Why have I never been told about 1, 2, 3 cake before now?
I didn't know about it until a few months ago when Holly discovered it. So
There's a reason to
look this up.
and then
We really need to do a Traveling the Vortex cookbook.
yeah,
We really do.
Keith would have a whole bunch of it.
Well, you and I would have things like, you know, heat and eat chili mac,
Yeah.
and fish fingers and custard. He'd have actually, you know, all the gourmet stuff in
Real
there.
stuff. And then we made milkshakes. So the girls had milkshakes, and then they had a hula hoop contest, so you could hula hoop the longest, who could blow the biggest bubble. So 50s type stuff. And then today, my
1, 2, 3 cake. I'm Googling this as we speak.
He found it. And then today, the family came over, and so we had another big party this afternoon with cake and ice cream and the whole 9 yards. And then we all went out to dinner tonight, which unfortunately I missed Keith's dinner because
That's okay.
our party stuff went over, and then by the time we got done with that, we decided, it was about 6:30, we decided to go eat, so we went to Chili's.
It's more
It's
important
pretty
that you
much
were with your daughter for her birthday.
Yeah. I mean,
than with
if
me
we,
for my
if we
birthday.
hadn't had so many party events, you know, all weekend. I asked Caitlin when she went to bed tonight. She enjoyed her birthday weekend.
I know how that
Did it
feels
all.
because with divorced parents,
Yeah.
I make all the rounds.
Yeah.
So that's what I did this weekend, was went to dinner with my mom and my cousin for my birthday at Old Chicago last night. They got me a couple of Doctor Who books, and which I didn't realize this. Did you guys know this is a third Doctor story, Harvest of Time?
I did not know that.
And the crutch of it is he has to save the Master.
Ooh.
And it's got Joe in it.
Alistair Reynolds.
Yeah.
Well,
It's the third Doctor
of
saving
course,
Doctor.
a book written by Alistair would be a third Doctor story.
And then we had lunch with my dad today, and then went over and hung out at Sarah's parents for a little while since Audie was over there, and he got me that very cute canine shirt that I Instagrammed.
Yes, very cool.
And then went to dinner at Cheeseburger with Sean, Mel, and Blake, and then went to shows, and Glenn brought over for me the Doctor Who character encyclopedia as a gift. Overall, it's been a good birthday. Technically, my birthday
It's
is
tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And you're off tomorrow?
No,
Why didn't you take your birthday off?
I never do. I always just work. I never think about it.
The eternal hope that
You know,
someone
you
work will
get your
bring you a
birthday
gift.
off.
Well, I already used my floating holiday. So then it's a vacation day, and I might need those for later.
That's right. That's what I usually do, too, is I save it. Although it had intended to take off my birthday this year, but I think Bob was gone. So.
How about you, Sean? What'd you do?
I herded cats. We went to Schlitterbahn, the water park, which Mel's brothers were all hot to trot to try and do something together as a family, and they settled on that. So her brother Pete bought everybody tickets to Schlitterbahn,
cool.
And her brother Aaron bought food for everybody to store in coolers and bring to Schlitterbahn. So we got to go for free,
cool.
Which was an awesome experience.
Explain what Schlitterbahn is.
It's a big water park.
Some people might not.
In Kansas City.
I'm assuming there are other ones also.
Yeah, there are
it's
several of them. It's a fairly big one as far as water parks go. Had we not been with Brother Aaron and Brother Pete and Brother Aaron's family, it probably would have been a good day.
Ouch.
Yeah,
but when it's free.
I keep telling myself that all day long. This is free, don't complain. This is free, don't complain. But a large number of them are smokers, and so they had to stop at every smoking area to have a cigarette. It's like we couldn't get anywhere to get anything done. 2 hours in the park, they were ready for lunch, and it's like, we just got here. And everybody's eating right now, which means nobody's on the rides. We could go on the rides now. Okay, 2 hours to eat, and then have another cigarette.
Well, because you can't go in, except 30 minutes after.
No, just took them that long to eat.
No, but that's what I'm saying. 20.
You gotta wait.
You gotta wait. After 2 hours of eating, you have to wait another 30 minutes.
Yeah, here's my rule for the parks. And then I heard a lot of people talking all over the park. Well, we have to leave by such and such time because we have to be somewhere at 5. I overheard this conversation all over this park. Friends, if you paid $40 a ticket to get into somewhere, you stay until that place closes. That's just the rule.
That's how it works.
I didn't pay $40 to get in, and I still stayed until they closed.
What time did they close?
They closed at 8.
Wow.
We were there just after 10 when the park opened.
It's awful late for a water park.
Yeah. I think this is the last week for it. I think now that they start shortening the hours.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, once we actually got into the water and were able to do some of the things, we had a good time. They have a lazy river, which is kind of the highlight attraction of this particular park, which actually goes through the entire park. It's not like the lazy river's a ride.
Right.
You float through the entire park on it, and there are little offshoots that become queues for each individual ride. So you can literally ride everything, just about everything in the park, and never get out of the water, which is kind of
I think that's really neat.
Kind of an impressive idea. And they have a big wave pool. It's not a pool; it's a canyon. So instead of having a big wave that kind of comes out and spreads out this way, it is in this enclosed hallway full of water that you bob up and down and get pushed along. Which that was a lot of fun too. So we ended up having a good time. It was just a challenge to get over that hole. And then Billy. I told him early in the morning, I was like, so you're going to put some sunscreen on, right? No, I'll be all right. Billy, you know how this is going to end. You're going to get burned. You're going to be miserable. You're going to get sunstroke. You're not going to feel good. We're going to have to baby you the next week and a half. Well, why don't you just put some sunscreen on? No, I'll be all right. Okay. Anybody care to guess what happened?
Yeah, did he get burned?
He got fried. Not like a little bit, like a lot. Like, there's not a color to describe what color this boy is right now. And this is the weird thing. You hang close. This is the weird thing. He's got a handprint on his back. Like, if you were hugging yourself, there are fingerprints on his back where he's not burned.
So, did he fall asleep in the sun?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But there's just 3 fingers. They're very distinct. It's not a mark. It's fingers. Yeah. There's nothing else that it could be. It's fingers that somebody was holding on to him and held on to him long enough in that position that their fingers are burned and his back isn't.
How long away was... Did he disappear for any stretch of time?
Not that I'm aware of. He was with Uncle Pete for a while, but I don't... Yeah, so... We had a lot of fun making the Ed and Eddie joke. If you've seen that episode, he gets sunburned, pink belly, and starts slapping him, changing colors.
That's just kind of mean.
Yeah, but so of course he got home and was miserable, and then was very grumpy because I don't want to put vinegar on, I don't want to put lotion on. It's like,
vinegar.
You've never heard that?
Vinegar?
Vinegar takes the sting out of sunburns.
Really?
Yeah. You don't smell good, but it takes
I'm
the sting
sorry.
out.
I think I'd live with the sting, and I
think I'd just go buy aloe.
Yeah, aloe's what they.
No, it saps it out better than anything. You put a dab and do that, and it just draws everything right out of it. And then you follow that up with your aloe or your lotion, your banana butter, whatever. But it just pulls that right out of there. It's awesome at that.
Weird.
And of course, I am the smart one of the group because I dress like an old lady when I go to the water parks. I have my sunscreen and I wear my.
Let's be honest. You kind of dress like an old lady when you go disc golfing.
I have
too.
my Hawaiian shirt and my hat, and I am well out of the sun.
It's true. I've never seen you with a sunburn.
There's a reason for that. I'm smart. I had a bunch of them as a kid and wised up. And decided, you know what? Skin cancer is not fun. So yeah, he was moaning and groaning all night last night, and I just looked at him and said, "You know what? Zero sympathy. I told you."
You did give him a warning.
You can't have any sympathy for somebody if you've warned them. They don't heed your warning.
You shouldn't do that, by the way.
What?
Because your phone has a speaker in it. There's a tiny little magnet in the speaker.
It's not big enough to do it.
I wouldn't trust it.
No.
We've had cases come in at Sprint when I was there of people wiping their hard drives with their phones.
You can't. It has to be a strong enough magnet.
Okay, Mr. iPhone, I have the best phone ever. It's probably got an earth magnet in there that'll wipe out every videotape in existence if you walked in front of it.
It doesn't. It has to be a very strong magnet in order to wipe out.
Okay.
Even it would have to. It would have to be. It'd have to be a lot stronger than that in order to. Actually even.
I've been told by Geek Squad agents not to do that because I did that. I'm just saying.
They tell you that because they want to sound.
Hey, you know
important.
what? Your phone, your computer. It's not my computer. It's not my electronic equipment you're setting it on.
They want to sound important.
That's okay. You've been warned.
I am. You can't see this because it's not video, but imagine my fingers like a millimeter apart. That close from finishing Lego Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
I have 100% of the game. I have one trophy left. And it's completing the Mines of Moria in 15 minutes.
Note to self.
One of the longest levels in the game. I've tried several times. Sarah even sat down and helped me to get the co-op level. Yeah. And that's the level we did because I thought, two of us playing, maybe we can knock it out in 15 minutes. Nope. Tried it by myself. Didn't do it. I don't know what I need to do.
Wonder Twin powers activate.
You know what? I don't think I've done that. So
that's the one I'm missing. I've looked it up online. It just says practice because you have to do it in story mode. You can't do it in free play. It says play it a few times, and you just need to know what you have to do. The problem I had when I played it was I knew what I had to do. The computer characters didn't do what I needed them to do.
Why are you not standing on this switch instead of over there looking at the butterfly? Come here! So you change characters, and then the other person wanders off the switch. And it's
exactly.
Like, what is your... Did your Lego characters get to that very specific, that's my button? I'm not going to stand anywhere else but that button.
I have
they'll stand there and they'll argue
with this one.
They'll have little digital arguments with each other over who gets to stand on that button or something. And until you physically change characters, then one of them moves out of the way and the other one goes over and stands on this button. And then the first guy goes over and stands somewhere else like it wasn't a big deal. But it's like, really? I just want to go to the Lego headquarters and meet the developers of these things and go, what were you thinking?
I'm so ready to be done with this game. It technically was due back Saturday. I went and returned it and checked it back out.
Just because you're that close?
Because I'm that close. Now, at that point, I hadn't 100%ed it again.
Are you're that ready to be done with it? Is it because it's a frustrating experience, or just because it's that rewarding and you're kind of like, I want to be able to say I'm done with it? Or
a little bit of both. It hasn't been super frustrating.
It's not Lego Batman for
it's
you.
It's not
then.
Lego Batman.
Okay.
It's just, I've spent 2 weeks pretty much not doing anything else in my free time at night after Sarah goes to bed. I'm 2 to 3 episodes behind on multiple shows because all I'm doing is playing Lego Lord of the Rings and trying to get it done in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that should be an achievement right there.
I'm
complete any Lego game in 2 weeks free time.
I failed.
No kidding.
Well, I think Mel and I spent 2 years on the first Lego Harry Potter.
Yeah, but you guys got to play through it twice because you're doing it co-op.
Yeah. Stupid achievements.
And so it's probably going to be like another
we're
week
all
until I return it.
Achievement addicts, anyway.
Yeah.
Because now I'm going to make sure I finish Sarah Jane Adventures before I even try to get that trophy. Which won't take me that long, honestly.
Yeah.
So
We started it. We started Sarah Jane this week just so that we'd have a little bit of a leg up going into next.
Yeah, I've got about half of it watched now, just to make sure that I have it done by the time we get done. Although I screwed up and I watched the second to last episode on accident first. Because
episode or story?
Huh?
Episode or story?
Story.
Okay.
Because I started watching it and then I thought, okay, I'll just go ahead and... What the heck are you talking about?
Were you,
Were you
were your digital copies?
Yeah, mine were in the wrong order.
Yeah, mine were too.
Yeah.
We could caught it before we started, though.
Yeah, no, I didn't. And
So-
I hit play because I couldn't see all of the title of it, and so I just hit play and I watched. And I got about a third, maybe 2/3 into it, and I thought Luke left this season, but they never even addressed that at the beginning of this. And so I got online and I looked and went, oh. So then I looked at the full title of mine and went, oh, this is episode 9. So I went ahead and watched 9 and 10, and then I went back and started from the beginning. So I watched one out of order.
It's not too bad.
That's not
I'm a
too
smart guy. I'll remember it. I'll remember what.
You'll be able to place it in the correct
I'll be
order.
able to place it in the correct order.
Until next week when we get to review it, and he'll go be like,
I thought this one was first.
I don't
That
remember
wasn't
that
the
at all. Did we watch this
The
episode?
first one I watched so far, well, I haven't rewatched because I have seen Death of the Doctor,
Well,
and I haven't
yeah.
rewatched that one. And I'm sure that's probably my favorite. But of all the other ones, so far the first one I watched, the 9th and 10th episodes are my favorite.
Nightmare Man?
Yeah, no,
The ninth and
the
the
10th.
9th and 10th,
Right.
which is Lost in Time or something like that. I think it's
Let
called
me grab
Lost.
the DVDs.
Mel and I started, we watched Nightmare Man, and we watched whatever the second one is.
Lost in Time?
Yeah, or something time.
Yeah, Lost in Time.
Lost in Time.
What's the second one called?
That so far is my
The
favorite.
Vault of the
The Vault
of Secrets.
Vault of Secrets.
Yeah.
We watched
Because
those
it's
two.
Nightmare Man,
Sounds
Vault
pretty
of
good.
Secrets.
Have you watched any of it yet?
I have not.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Then
I
I
just
won't
picked it
say,
up on
I won't
Saturday.
say
I just-
anything about 2.
I
That was
just got
kind of
my
a surprise to
DVD,
me.
copy on Saturday.
Mona Lisa comes back. She's riding a space buffalo.
Thank
Oh.
God. No.
In a fight with a Merca.
Well, actually, I'd pay to see that.
I would too.
To see the Merca trounce a space buffalo?
She'd have t-shirts
While
printed.
Mona
Cage fight.
Lisa and the front spoils the
But
episode. Well, don't
I've
look
already
now.
looked at it.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of context, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that's true.
It won't be. It's hindsight spoilering.
Yeah, it will be.
I know who voices those things. The Vulture type things.
Yeah, we found that out, but I can't remember.
David
now.
Bradley.
That's right.
Skeksis. But that's next week.
Yeah. All right.
Should we move on to news?
We should
Let's move on to news.
Since we've rambled along.
Doctor Who's still not on.
Yeah.
Again.
Again.
Still.
But
At least we know when it's coming back now.
we've always known.
No, I mean, in the past.
That's
okay.
true.
We'd be in between series and wouldn't
we
know when
didn't
it was
know when.
returning.
If this was
I can
earlier
say
this year,
definitively
we
what
wouldn't
day
know.
it will be on this year or
Yeah.
coming next.
If this was earlier this year, we'd still be going, we haven't got an announcement or anything. I'm betting on March 30th.
But it's August, and that means celebration of the 8th Doctor and the Puffin
For the
e-book.
rest of the world, not us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well.
The Puffin e-book has been announced. The short. Alex Scarrow, the author of Time Riders series, has penned the story for 8th Doctor Paul McGann, a book entitled Spore.
Sorry, that's just a funny name.
Spore.
Makes me think of that video game. That
Well,
had
there
so
was a
much
video game
controversy.
called
That
Spore.
that Sims video game where you create creatures and make them evolve. And,
Basically evolve your own universe.
yeah.
Probably only controversy here in Kansas, so.
I don't remember where
What was
all
controversial about it? Just because it
People didn't like that you were
it
playing
dealt with
God.
evolution.
Yeah.
Well, that's every sim game. Civilization was basically that.
But this, you actually create creatures and abominations.
I guess that's true.
So I want to talk about the fact that the guy's name is Alex Scaro. Does nobody see a problem with this?
It's a C, not
Is
a
it
K.
spelled S-K-A-R-O?
No.
Well, then.
It's S-C-A-R-R-O-W.
Yeah,
and
and
until you said it aloud like that, I didn't...
The masters...
It's Scarrow.
And the master's aliases were always not the master. I mean, come on. It doesn't have to be spelled the same way. It could be an anagram of something.
It's an anagram of Ice Warrior.
Mr. Scarrow. Ooh. Not to be trusted.
Sally Scarrow.
I suppose that's not true. The Thalls were from Scarrow, and they turned out all right.
No, they were from Scarrow. All right.
That's true.
Can I start referring to the Wizard of Oz as a Scarrow Crow?
What other news is there?
There's
Exciting
That's
stuff.
right, yeah. I haven't seen the YouTube video.
And as a reminder, because I don't think we've said it yet this month, we'll be reviewing all of those books later.
Yes. Probably in December after it's all over.
Because it comes out in the paperback the 23rd.
And they all come together as an
November 23rd.
anthology on the 23rd? That's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat. I have the first book on ebook. Actually, I have the first two.
Yeah, I thought you were picking all of them up.
I was going to.
And then reality set in.
Well,
It's cheaper this way, too.
I started
because
buying
it's
them.
$1.99 for
Yeah.
an ebook, and
Right.
then the entire book's going to be like $7.99.
Right, and I started buying them because my intention was to read them so I'd be ahead of. And then when I had read the first two, I thought, well, this is silly.
I bought we actually got in at work the IDW first trade paperback compilation of the
Prisoners of Time.
Prisoners of Time series that's got the first 4 stories. And so I bought myself a legit real paper copy of that.
Real paper copy.
As opposed to my digital copies.
Oh.
It's a comic book. I
Well,
still have
your
issues
digital
with
copies
that.
have a watermark because
That's true.
we get review copies
Yes.
from IDW. So.
Not for much longer.
Should we thank them?
Well, we'll probably still get review copies, but nothing.
There's just enough for
won't
the
be
Doctor
Doctor
Who.
Who.
Well, won't be anything we get to review
Nothing that we can review.
unless BBC wisens up and gives them the licensing back.
I have a feeling they've already made a deal if it's over at the end of this year.
Probably. With probably somebody over in England, which means we won't get comic books for Doctor Who here in America.
We'll see. What's our other bit of news, Keith?
There are some Doctor Who fans launching a crowdfunding campaign for a new Doctor Who documentary.
Ooh, tell me more.
3 London-based filmmakers have got together to produce a new documentary about examining how the face of Doctor Who fandom has changed since the series returned to TV screens in 2005.
It's gotten younger. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Continue.
The film is already in production, and several familiar faces to Doctor Who fandom has agreed to appear in it. Interviews have been recorded with former companions Sophie Aldred, Louise Jameson, Caitlin Blackwood. Can we count her as a companion? Recurring characters Neve McIntosh, Katrin Stewart, Dan Starkey, Simon Fisher-Becker, friend of the show, Simon Fisher-Becker. Writers James Moran, who wrote The Fires of Pompeii, Jane Espenson. I guess I should say who that is too. Torchwood Miracle Day.
I'll say, I don't think Jane's written for Doctor Who yet, just Torchwood.
Yeah.
That's kind of a stretch there, but all right.
Andrew Smith, who wrote Full Circle.
I'll allow it because even though Glenn hasn't seen it yet, her episode of Torchwood Miracle Day was the most Doctor-heavy of any episode of Torchwood.
true.
So
It's very true.
I need to watch the last 2 episodes.
Wait, wasn't that earlier in the season? It wasn't the last 2, was it?
that wasn't the last 2.
So he's seen
I've
it.
seen it then.
He's seen all but the last 2 of Miracle Day.
Oh.
I've only seen.
Yeah,
One
that's
through
right.
it.
I guess
I
it
haven't
was.
seen
Well, you
nine.
haven't, so you saw like 7's the one I'm thinking of, isn't it? With
I think so.
yeah. Okay.
The flashback.
Yeah. All right.
You remember that? The Jack flashback.
The Jack flashback.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't know why we're beating
The
around the
most,
bush.
the most
Because we
Doctor
haven't
heavy.
reviewed it yet.
The most Doctor heavy. Yeah, there was kind of a mention of the Doctor. That was pretty much it.
More than anything else in the rest of the
Well,
season.
that's true, but I don't care.
And a bunch of other people. IDW writer Tony
Well, Gary
Lee.
Russell and Eric Sayward,
Oh yes, Gary Russell.
script editors.
Uh,
Tony Lee.
I just said
Simon
Tony
Furman?
Lee.
They won't be able to find Tony.
Dan
Dan
Slotman.
Slott, who wrote Spider-Man. What?
What?
Wait, what?
And Richard Starkings, who wrote Elephant Man. What? And many more, including many Doctor Who fans. Oh, so those last two are just Who fans.
Ah.
Filmed at various conventions across the country.
Hey, they should come interview us for this documentary.
They should.
Yeah, they should.
Maybe we should respond to the email.
If we respond to it and tell them we're pushing
Hey,
to
if,
help them, you
yeah.
want to come.
There's a video, a campaign video, and a website that people can go to. We will include those in the show notes because it's kind of a weird URL. It's igg.me/at/who's changing. WHOS changing.
That is a mouthful.
Yeah. So we'll include a link in
Links
the show
in the
notes.
show notes, yes.
What happened to www?
It's an indie-
Did we run out of www addresses?
Indiegogo campaign. So it's not a Kickstarter, it's an Indiegogo. I've never
necessary to put www.
Then why do I still do it?
Because you're a technical Neanderthal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'd never heard of Indiegogo before this. It's just another crowdfunding platform. And
It sounded like a
Kickstarter.
really cool discotheque for a moment. What are you doing this
Indiegogo.
weekend? We're going to go to Indiegogo.
So this is where all the hipster kids go instead of Kickstarter?
That could be. Could be. All right.
So if you want to throw some money at it, they are looking to keep it 100% independently produced and distributed. And the production said through the production process, this film is by fans for fans.
Sometimes those are the best.
Yes.
The Jaws one was phenomenal.
Which ended up being included on the Blu-ray, right?
It is, yeah. It was such a good documentary that Universal included it on the Blu-ray release of Jaws.
Hopefully, at the very least, Netflix might pick it up after it's finished and they'll stream it.
Yeah.
Could be.
That'd
Netflix
be a great
does love
platform
documentaries.
for it. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
That's it for news.
All right. Well, then in
Been a
that
slow
case,
week since the big announcement last week.
it's time for feedback, and unless Sean surprises me here.
Feedback.
sounds
Feedback. We've got some feedback. Jazz hands.
As we mentioned before, Sean is computerless this week, so he didn't have his musical equipment with him.
No,
he didn't bring his band.
I didn't bring the band. I just thought it was appropriate to do a throwback week this week.
Yeah.
Because I know it's been so long and you guys miss that song so much.
It has been a while.
All right, who's first?
Up first is Scott. Scott from Philly wrote in saying, "Let's not time warp again." Hi.
This is we should preface this.
I think he meant mind warp, but maybe not.
He wrote.
He writes in the
He
preference.
writes,
I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Hi, Kansas crew. I've been hit with bad timing. I was too late to write in last week with the Trial of the Time Lord Totes wrap-up. And as I type this, in less than 18 hours, we'll find out who's the new Doctor. That makes Tote feel increasingly less important.
That's why I wanted to preference this. We
Because-
apologize to
Scott
because
let us know.
we actually had this last week. We just didn't realize it.
Yeah, it was posted on our website, and we didn't see
Right.
that it was on there, and he luckily sent us
That's
a
why I thought
Facebook
we should
message
preface it
and
because
said,
he says as I'm writing this.
Yeah.
And
See, this must be one of those things, because I remember reading this when it came
'Cause-
in, and then we didn't talk about it, and then I remember getting it in the email feedback and went, I'm having another deja vu moment. I've already read this.
because
But I didn't say anything, because you guys thought I was nuts last time.
he actually commented on the contact us page, and
yeah. So anyway, that's
you
the
should just make
backstory
that
there.
part of your automatic
I'm sorry.
checking.
I-
Keeper
well,
We
I
have
typically
to. In
do.
fact, Keith and I usually both check, but neither one of us just saw it this week.
Because
Or
it was
last
posted.
Multiple redundancy fail.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because
I'm
if I
sorry.
see
It
it,
was-
I send it. If Keith sees it, he
Unfortunately, I check
ahead.
during the week. I don't always have time to check on the weekends.
Yeah.
And it was posted on the weekends, so that's why I didn't get to see it.
Excuses.
Yeah, pretty much. He writes on to say,
It was good with Keith. I'm behind you.
thank you. That news makes Tote feel increasingly less important, but I want to follow this all the way through. I've even avoided hearing your latest podcast until I can get this out. I have another 3 points about Mind Warp after seeing it again from start to finish for the first time in years. 1. There were major story parts and even characters I forgot. didn't help. 2. This is still my most disliked story or chapter in a story I've ever watched. But 3, I see how this had the potential of being one of the all-time greatest cliffhangers ever, but blew it. I watched Mind Warp back-to-back with The Ultimate Foe to better get into a cliffhanger feel. In many ways, it compares very well with one of the best cliffhangers in history, Star Trek TNG's Best of Both Worlds.
Woo!
In the last minutes, both have major characters who happen to be bald, becoming possessed by aliens, and a last-second desperate charge to defeat the villain, what will likely result in that possessed character's death, and the show ending at that last possible second. Next Gen got it right. Tote does the worst possible thing, resolving the cliffhanger away in the exposition at the end. No parry, no goodbyes, no payoff at all. As Charlie Brown said, "Arg!" They pulled the football away.
I probably have to give him that.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Especially, I mean, you're using kryptonite against me when you bring up Best of Both Worlds. That's just unfair. Because, it is hands down one of the greatest cliffhangers in television history. And now that you're pulling that out of the rabbit, it's like, well, all right.
As a whole, Trial stands as poor Collins' typical type of TV story. Some good ideas ruined by sloppy or lazy writing. If I could do a redo of the season, I would have 3 separate stories. Mysterious Planet would stand on its own. Trial would be a 6-part story, with Mind Warp shrunk and worked into it like Inferno. Imagine if we knew nothing about a trial. At the end of the 2nd episode, we see a bald possessed Perry and the doctor running to save her, and then zap, he's pulled into a trial for his life. His only way to save Perry is to get back to her at the moment he left. And the Time Lords will only do that if he wins. As distracting as that would be, he's later forced to have his own barrister, the Master. He is the Time Lord who knows the Doctor best, and his incentive being the Time Lords will grant him more lives if he wins. So why do the Time Lords keep bringing the Doctor and Master together? I'm tangenting in my own story, haha. So it's the Doctor and the Master versus the Valeyard. For the last part, we wrap up the trial, all the villains get away, the Time Lords send the Doctor back, Perry is saved, and we see it. She's tired of almost dying or getting transformed and just wants to be left in peace. Ukranos promises to look after her as long as she wants to stay. Everyone has their goodbyes. The end. The last story is completely new and introduces Mel properly as a main character instead of expositioning her into Doctor Who and treating her badly right from the start. Okay, so now we can all get back to staring at the clock. Will you guys get the news at noon? That would be perfect. Noon, 12. Take care. It wasn't at noon, it was at 2.
Thanks, Scott.
Let me guess, Ukranos is in the...
Ukranos is not in the character encyclopedia.
Oh.
Fail. All right, Scott.
Stuff is in here.
You have successfully intrigued me with your idea of that trial. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I still like Mind Warp. I can understand now why you don't. I still like it. And yeah, it's got problems. And yeah, your version of the trial probably would have been really cool. The Master is the Doctor's. That's ripe for.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. But thanks for writing back.
Yeah. Very good, Scott.
We're glad
and he
you
took up the
gave it a
challenge.
chance.
So yeah,
He did take up the challenge. Thank you for taking up the challenge, picking up the gauntlet, throwing it back in my face with a heavily loaded.
Ooh, there is an entry for Valeyard.
I would hope so.
Who's next? Rachel?
Rachel.
Am I reading
Rachel
our
is
list
next.
right? Rachel writes, comment question, hello Vortex gang. Before I get into feedback, I have a question. I was in my local half-price books recently. And thank you for bringing up such a terrible subject and sore spot.
She probably hasn't got to that in the podcast yet. She is mainlining.
Don't put her down because she still has a half-price bookstore that's open.
We're jealous. You still have a half-price bookstore that's open. But she was at recently, and while it was seriously lacking in Doctor Who-related merchandise as far as DVDs, it did have a decent number of BBC audio CDs.
Oh, I never looked there for the audio CDs.
Almost all the titles I recognized as previously aired episodes covering several different eras. This made me wonder, are these just audio versions of the TV episodes as opposed to Big Finish audios, which are original stories? Do you know much about BBC audio CDs? I almost bought a couple, but wasn't sure if it would be worth the money if all I was going to hear was a version of a TV episode. I believe they are audio versions of episodes, but Glenn is verifying that, I suspect.
Yeah. Well, typically, the ones that I have come across, and this is mostly because... there we go, Dr. Who. The reason these are on my radars is, yes, the ones that the BBC does that I think they're actually marketed under BBC Radio. What they are, Rachel, is I think there are some of them that are episodes that still exist, but the majority that I've listened to are things like Power of the Daleks, Power of the Daleks. Marco Polo was one of them. What they are is, fortunately, there were some people back in the 1960s that recorded audio off of TV, because it was back before the advent of VHS or VCRs or especially DVR. So that's how they were able to relive the episodes, is they had reel-to-reel players and they would tape these audio episodes off TV. Fortunately, because the BBC in its infinite wisdom ended up wiping a lot of these episodes, what they've done is they've tracked down a lot of these collectors that still had audio episodes that they had recorded off of TV. They've cleaned them up, and then they've released them on audio. So you at least have the audio versions of almost everything out there, even all of the wiped episodes. And so what they've done is they're actually kind of cool, because in a sense you're still hearing the audio from the episode, but what will happen is they've gone in and they've recorded linking narration. So it describes to you the things that are going on. So that's
very helpful.
That's how I've actually enjoyed Marco Polo, Power of the Daleks. In fact, I just did the Yeti series, which is the Abominable Snowmen and Web of Fear, and did those that way. And they're wonderful ways to relive audios that no longer exist in episode in television or video format. So that's what the majority of those are. Now, I have run across one or two that I believe are ones that do still exist, and I'm not sure why they would have done that, other than maybe it was just successful enough, and if they ran these on the radio at one time, that might have been just a way to do it. So, but yeah, if you get a hold of them, especially the ones, like I say, that you just won't be able to see, or don't prefer to do recons, then they're really enjoyable, because you are still hearing the actual voices of the actors, because it's dialogue from the television. But then there's linking narration that explains what's going on as well. So
according to Wiki,
very
the source of all knowledge, there have been several original audio dramas produced for Doctor Who, mostly produced for radio or internet broadcast. And it doesn't list Big Finish here.
No, it's not Big Finish. It was prior to Big Finish.
So things like Doctor Who and the Pesticons, Slipback.
No, those are okay. No, those are different. Those aren't what she's talking about. These are actual audios that were produced for radio as well, though.
Okay.
Yeah. That's different than I think
Death
what
Comes
she's
to Time.
about.
Well, Shot is on this list too, which they later redid as a thing.
You're doing ones that are actually, in fact, Big Finish has had a hand in some of those.
Oh, okay.
There's also, I think, a Pertwee. Some of those ones are Pertwee audios too. She's talking about the television soundtracks, I think, is what she's specifically talking about. In fact, I'm looking at some of those now. I was looking for okay, so the Daleks has been done. Genesis of the Daleks was done, but I think that was done as a special edition record format. Somebody that writes in frequently a long time ago was telling us about it. Oh, I think Robbie Bonham was telling us about it.
I think it was Robbie, now you say that.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Macroterra exists, Evil of the Daleks exists, Tomb of the Cybermen, that would be another one. Now, this was probably produced before they found, because Tomb is one of the ones that they've recovered. stuff from Power of the Daleks, as I said, I've listened to. Fury from the Deep. The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. Web of Fear is one. Galaxy 4. The Highlanders. The Macro Terror. Mythmakers. So a lot of these ones that you're probably seeing are ones. Celestial Toymaker. Abominable Snowman. Again, ones that...
Just because there's no episode
There
in
is no
existence.
episode in existence. Or it's missing pieces.
Or missing pieces.
That was another thing that I did when I listened to the Abominable Snowman and the Macro Terror. There was one story, I think, of each of those that exists. And so what I did is I stopped when I got to that episode, and watched it, because I still enjoy watching them and can comprehend them a little better watching them. And then what I did then is skipped ahead and listened to the rest. So I actually kind of mixed media there when I was doing the Yeti series. So anyway, I say pick them up and at least pick one up, especially if the price is right.
Oh, yeah.
Give it a try, because like I'm saying, it's episodes that you're not going to see unless they find them, or they might have one story that exists on the Lost in Time box sets, or I think Galaxy 4 just was recovered and is being released on. They're piggybacking that one with.
Was that one on the Aztecs?
Was that the
special
Aztec
edition?
special edition? I
Might
think
have
it
been,
was.
yeah. So it's they're certainly worth it. That's what I've done to kind of go back and get, because the retcons, they do a wonderful job, but they're not easy to get a hold of, and there is no linking audio, so you're using telesnaps, and so you're getting the audio from the broadcast, and you're getting telesnaps in there, but there's no linking narration. So the linking narration in the audios actually helps a lot.
Yeah,
Visualize what's going on, or what would have been going on screen at the time. Hopefully that answered your question, Rachel.
You'll get there eventually.
Wherever you are.
You're so close.
She continues. Second, I hate to sound like I'm beating a dead horse. That's okay, we do all the time. But I just wanted to address your tangent from last show. While I agree that the so-called fans who whine and moan if the Doctor isn't young and hot probably aren't genuine fans, the fringe fans, as it were, I kind of see their point. I'm a 30-something female and started watching Doctor Who because I had friends who were watching. I fell in love with the storytelling, starting with Rose and 9. But I have to admit the fact that when David Tennant came along, that he is adorable certainly helped retain my interest. Just don't tell my husband. You have to admit, a bit of a sex appeal doesn't hurt. And I've heard you guys mention the good looks of companions like Amy and Leela, so that street runs both ways. But if that's the only reason someone was to watch, well, then they're missing out on the point of the show.
I think we certainly agree with that, Rachel, because I think what irritates me the most are the ones that are just coming to the show because they think the Doctor's cute. But on the flip side of that, if those...
It's the people that won't stick around because he's no longer...
And if they don't, and that's fine. But I'm going to backpedal a little bit on where we've been on this, because I sort of think that anything that brings fans, whether it be superficial or whether it be, looks or anything, that brings people to the show so they at least discover it. Now, if you're a real true fan of the show, you're going to stick around because of the storytelling, no matter who it is. And you're absolutely right. We gush all over a lot of the girls that are on there. But if they brought a companion on that was a guy or a female that I didn't think was attractive, I still recognize that the storytelling is there, and that's what I watch Doctor Who for, is the storytelling, and not necessarily the girls being pretty is a bonus for me. Well, it's not what brings me to Doctor Who. But I agree that anything that'll bring people to watch the show and keep... That's the other thing is I should go and say is the popularity of Doctor Who has to lend itself to the fact that we've had good-looking guys that girls like to come watch. And what does frighten me a little bit is if you bring a Doctor in that is uninteresting looks-wise and you lose all those people, and we said last week, well, we're trimming the fat. But realistically, if the viewership goes down and the numbers drop, you have to be realistic that there's a chance that it won't go much longer.
That it could get canceled again.
I mean, the execs look at it in such a way that it's eyes in front of screens and not the quality of storytelling.
If it was an American television show, I would 100% agree with that. Coming from the BBC, I don't think that's as big a worry. I think it is, especially since they don't have the numbers they don't have the money to back shows that aren't being popular anymore. I mean, they're really... I think and the beauty with Doctor Who is that you can retool it. I mean...
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. If this
If-
doctor doesn't work, they
For
can make
God
him
forbid, for
regenerate,
whatever
and-
reason, Peter Capaldi is a horrible choice as Doctor,
See,
and
but-
they lose millions and millions and millions of viewers over it. They can always come back and say, "All right, well, we're going to go ahead and have him regenerate."
But
I think that's
principally,
I agree.
Here's the problem with that is then that sucks that we're basing the fact that, well, I think he's going to be a capable doctor. I think Peter Capaldi is going to be a fantastic doctor, as a matter of fact. But if the BBC says, well, you're just not attractive enough, so we're going to regenerate you and bring some younger, good-looking guy in here, that principally, that's wrong. That is
I agree.
so wrong.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And if that happens, I would be very upset, very disappointed.
I would
Something
too.
like that would happen just to keep Doctor. Actually, is it worth keeping Doctor Who in the airways because of that? No, I think I almost would say no. I would rather them say it's been a good run than to compromise that principle. That's absolutely wrong.
I think
I'm
Moffat
sorry.
would walk if they came to him with that.
Moffat's only got another year anyway.
Yeah,
So
but
I guarantee.
I would hope
Moffat's
whoever
done that
takes
series
over
A.
for Moffat would have that kind of integrity to walk
I would
if they
hope so.
want to.
I would hope so,
if they
too,
tried to
but-
do that. I don't think the BBC would.
the other thing to look
I-
at.
And I don't think that's what's going to happen. I'm
I
just
don't-
saying
yeah.
that's out
No,
there.
that's
as
a
possibility.
worst case scenario. The other thing to look at is that, I still maintain what we said earlier, that anything that brings fans to the show is good. In any way that they come to the show is good. Maybe they won't stick around. Okay, fine. You only like this one doctor. You know what? I was there once upon a time. Different reasons, but I was, I didn't like Peter Davidson because he replaced Tom. Eventually, I got over it, and I've come to embrace all of the aspects of the show. So maybe these fans that are out there throwing a hissy fit right now because the next Doctor is going to be old and ugly, in their estimation, maybe 20 years from now they'll grow up and they'll come back to it and go, I was so stupid for not having stuck around. And they'll get to rediscover it all over again. So
I think one thing that's in our favor is look at how many of the fangirls that quit watching after David Tennant left. And they didn't even give Matt a chance.
true.
But the show still was very successful and brought more fans.
Yeah, almost got bigger.
Yeah. So that's another thing you've got to look at in the aspect of you're bringing Peter Capaldi on. You're also bringing a lot of Peter Capaldi fans on now that have watched him in other shows because he's been on a lot of stuff in the UK, and they go, "Hey, he's the Doctor now. I should go over and check that show out and come over there and find that they really like it." So it's Doctor Who is in flux. I mean, realistic, the viewing is in flux, and if it's got enough eyes in front of screens, it's going to last. That's what it boils down to. It doesn't matter whether he's good looking, whether he's ugly, whether he's got a good companion or a bad companion. It doesn't matter as long as there's eyes in front of screens and they're doing a really good job story wise.
And we have to remember also that those complaining online are probably just a very vocal minority.
That's what usually happens.
Just like the Tennant
people
fangirls
that
is
scream
they're
the
a small
loudest.
group, but they're really loud.
Yeah.
I have an idea that I think we should explore. We should find some young female Doctor Who fans to bring into the podcast one day just to get that alternative take on it. I'll work on that. I know several.
Okay.
She continues. Now for Dragonfire. The best way to describe this story is fun. It's not too serious, with only hints of danger and drama. In fact, one of the most dramatic elements is when the Doctor's hanging from the end of his umbrella. Again, why did he climb over the rail in the first place? But even then, we'll know he'll be all right. Not because Glitz is there to save him, but because we know Clara is nearby. Actually, TARDIS Wiki has a great theory that the Doctor climbing over the railing may have been due to the influence of the Great Intelligence. How's that for retcon?
Anything that will retcon it.
Should we address climbing over now, or should we wait until we review it?
I was going to wait till we reviewed
Okay,
it.
all right.
Fixed. I loved seeing Glitz again, and Mel and Ace made a great team. I'm with Keith. They should find a way to bring back Tony Shelby, Glitz, and Brian Blessed, Ukranos, for Season 8. I would love to see Glitz try and cash in on the fact that he was saved or assisted in saving the Doctor's life more than once, but considering he and Mel ran off into the proverbial sunset, I do wonder if he would ever come to fruition outside of a Big Finish audio. Ace is so young, yet so tough, exactly what the Seventh Doctor needed, considering how dark this particular Doctor gets before the series ends. But at the same time, they both have their lighter moments as they travel together. All in all, I find Dragonfire a good story. Well, that's all I have time for this week. Until next time, Rachel. P.S. I was at my local state fair earlier this week, and they had an exhibit all about the history of animation. Most of it Disney-related. Along with it, they had a gift shop that included a decent-sized selection of Doctor Who stuff.
Oh.
I'm not sure what the correlation is between animation and Doctor Who, but I wasn't going to complain. I had to be good and restrain myself of buying too much, but I thought I'd share regardless. PPS. Gen Con is taking place later this week in Indianapolis, and Peter Davison is one of the special guests.
I'm so jealous.
I'm planning on going one of the days, and will be sure to give a report after I go.
That's only 9.5 hours, Sean. We could do that.
It is.
We've done it before.
We've done Gen Con before.
Well, you've done Gen Con. I didn't go to Gen Con. I went to Celebration.
Oh, that's right. You didn't go to Gen Con.
But yeah, Sean's been to Gen Con.
Yeah, I've been to Gen Con. We should totally go to Gen Con.
Yeah. When is that? Like next week?
Later this week.
Can you take
Taking
a couple
place
days off?
later this week.
Can
When
you
did she
take a couple
send this?
days
No.
I saw some of her pictures from the state fair. So.
It's August 15th to the 18th.
We can
No,
do that.
I can't. I can't. You
Just call in sick.
You guys have a good
Hey,
time.
I called in sick
Crypticon
to
is
go
that
to
same weekend.
Gallifrey. You can call in sick to go to Gen Con.
I'm already going to Crypticon. I can't do both.
Oh, that's right. It is that weekend.
But you and Keith could go.
No, we definitely couldn't because of our work. We can't both be off at the same
Call
time.
in sick.
Yeah, both of us.
Yeah,
call
both
in
of us
sick.
calling sick.
Both of you call in sick and then start tweeting from the same location. So here's the
They wouldn't
interesting.
get suspicious
Here's the
at all.
interesting bit of this is that what?
I was just telling him I have the next.
Oh, okay. Half price books, no Doctor Who merchandise.
No, they had Doctor Who merchandise.
They had no DVDs.
No much Doctor Who merchandise.
No much.
No much.
That's where they had the audio CDs that piqued your interest.
The
I've always found books.
animation
or
booth at the state fair, Doctor Who merchandise.
Yeah, no kidding.
Figure that
It's
one
not
out.
even Doctor Who animation. It's just like
It's just-
generic,
yeah.
with mostly Disney stuff, and then they've got like Doctor Who in the gift shop. That's whatever they can sell. You know, I figure if you're in there looking at animation, you're probably a sci-fi or Doctor Who fan too. So.
It's true.
How did they
I'm
know?
a Disney fan.
How did they know?
I'd have gone in there, and then they'd have hooked me on the Doctor Who stuff. And I saw she took a snap of the merchandise that was in there, quite a bit of stuff. That would have been hard to restrain myself. All right, next up is
David.
David writes, the two Peters. That is to say, Davison and Capaldi. So now that I'm able to email you, hang on. Dear Vortex guys, boys, people, thing. So now that I'm able to interview you, I shall... Woo! Peter Capaldi is exactly the kind of actor I wanted. I'm sure he'll be great as the Doctor, as I'm sure about my new favorite author, Stephen King, read Misery, and I'm halfway through The Shining. Apparently some fans are saying he's too old or something, but he's the same age as Hartnell was, so haven't listened to checks iTunes, Dreamweaver yet, so most of this must be covered ground, except for the Stephen King bit. Unless you've been spying. Oh, you've been spying on me, haven't you? Yeah. So, yeah. Woo! Peter Capaldi. David. P.S. Quit spying on me. We have been spying on you.
Speak for yourself. I got friends at the NSA.
We know who you are, and we saw what you did.
All right. Well, very good, David.
Thanks,
Yes,
David.
I think we echo those sentiments about Peter. Well, Sean and I do.
Woo!
Keith's
Cautiously optimistic.
That's it. Cautiously optimistic.
You're going to
that's
say
just mostly because-
pessimistically optimistic? How exactly does one be pessimistically optimistic?
Something was going to tumble out of my mouth like that. I'm not sure it was going to be exactly that, but yes.
I think I could pull out pessimistically up.
Only in America could three verbally challenged gentlemen start a podcast.
Alex writes in next. He says, "It's Peter Capaldi. Hey guys, Alex here. It's been a few weeks since I last wrote in on account of my having spent the last month traveling around India with a group from my college. It was a spectacular experience."
Yeah, Mark told us, Alex.
Thanks for the heads up.
Well, it probably sucked
Just
all the
kidding.
wind out of his
Just
sails
kidding,
there.
Alex, go ahead.
Let's be surprised. Oh my
Whoa.
God, you were in India?
That sounds awesome.
impressive.
Wow.
I wish I could go to India.
I can't even go to Gen Con. It's in Indiana. India. It sounds so foreign.
He says it was a spectacular experience, though, of course, being away for so long means I've fallen rather behind on current events. There's not much in the way of Wi-Fi halfway up the Himalayas. As far as I can tell, much has happened in my absence. The royal baby has been born, the new doctor has been announced, and space buffalo prejudice has reached an all-time high. For good reason.
Just the dumb ones.
Oh, now I feel guilty for hating the space buffalo. You throw prejudice in it. Any phrase is like, oh, okay, I should be politically
Next
correct.
week, there's going to be some sort of flying saucer that lands on the White House lawn, and our first contact with an alien race for real. It will be a space buffalo, and we'll all go,
I'm the space buffalo.
We'll be standing on our lawns going, no!
Space buffalo.
Anyway, now that I'm back, I just wanted to send in a little bit of feedback to give my verdict on Mr. Peter Capaldi. First of all, the BBC did a live multinational broadcast reveal show to announce the next Doctor, and I missed it. Just
I'm sure they broadcast it in India.
Halfway.
Is that
Halfway.
Is India still under their kingdom?
Aren't they they're like a, I don't know, I always get this confused.
I can't keep
Sort of.
Why are we
Kinda
going
like
to tread into
Canada
those
is.
waters again?
I think they're sort of, kind of like Canada.
Kind of like Canada.
But they're their own country. But kind of.
You heard it here, folks. India, sort of like Canada. Kind of. We are so well traveled.
That's the curry, eh?
I watched Brother Bear with Katrina today.
Oh, okay.
Well, David, how was India? Yeah, it's like Canada.
Sort of.
Sort of.
But anyway, number 12.
There's no Wi-Fi there. Is that like Canada? I don't want to go to Canada if there's no Wi-Fi.
Isn't that where the Yeti is, though, in the Himalayas?
Supposedly.
Yeah. What do you mean, supposedly? There's
The
Yeti.
robot Yeti?
There's Yeti?
Robot Yeti?
I don't know about a robot Yeti. Well, in Doctor Who, there's a robot Yeti. Aren't
You mean
Yeti
real
real?
Yeti? That's cryptozoology.
Yeti is along the lines of Sasquatch. They're
Cryptozoological.
mythic, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about Bigfoot here. We're talking about Yeti.
Yeti.
Isn't it the same thing? Just in snow?
I couldn't keep it going. Sorry.
You almost had me questioning whether or not.
You know what flashed in my
You
mind?
didn't think about it, though.
Right.
Wait, Yeti?
Well,
Yeti?
according to Monsters,
Sasquatch.
There
That's
was
what I think
one in Monsters Universe or Monsters Inc. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. There could be.
Well, and according to that wild Pixar theory, did you read that?
They're all.
That Monsters Inc. is set in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I did.
future kind, there's a Yeti.
Yeah.
As with all things.
I read that and I was going along with it, going, oh, "This is really good." And then they started really stretching. I was like, "Okay, now you're just really
I
stretching."
could see
things
that
here.
for some of them, and then
Anyway,
But anyway, number 12. I couldn't be more pleased with the decision Moffat and Co. have made. Though I'm not familiar with most of Capaldi's more famous credits, like The Thick of It or In the Loop.
oh, I love the thick of it. I'm on season 3 right now, by the way.
Wow.
So good. Well, the first season was 3 episodes.
Oh, okay. So
the
it's
second
like
season
Sherlock.
was 5. Well, it was 3 and 2 specials, and this season actually the reason I'm still on 3 is because I think it's like 12 episodes, so or 10, something like that.
I have. They did a BBC America did Miracle Day, or not Miracle Day, Children of Earth marathon today.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Cool.
And you can
To
get
celebrate.
and you can get a sticker on Get-Go. I don't know if it's too late.
Might be too
You have to
late.
check in the Doctor Who, not Torchwood.
Oh, get out of here for real?
Yeah,
That's
I
bizarre.
checked in the Torchwood and didn't get anything.
Oh,
Doctor
yeah.
Who, I did.
Okay.
It's
I'll give it a try.
it's a sticker of Peter Capaldi.
Best Buy has a cardboard dump bin up that's the best of BBC America. And on the top of this dump bin is Doctor Who and Sherlock. Now the dump bin has,
Wait. Let's go on record. Sherlock didn't air on BBC America.
I know. And it's a bunch of these, BBC shows included in the thing in the bin. And
Are they
then-
on sale? Or the normal price?
They're normal price. It was just a display ad, I think. But then down at the bottom of the dump bin was Merlin. But it was kind of like,
Still wasn't BBC America.
It was kind of like...
I think it aired on BBC America then.
Stephen Moffat holding up the entire enterprise by himself. That's what this image said to me.
At least in the U.S., it might as well be.
Yeah. It was like, here's the best of J.J. Abrams.
I'm surprised they didn't throw up Call the Midwife or Downton Abbey on there, since Downton's pretty big over here. But Downton isn't a BBC production even.
Oh.
But it wouldn't surprise me for Best Way to do it.
I think BBC America paid for the dump bin. I think
think so?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I don't think Sherlock aired on BBC America. Maybe repeats.
Oh, I didn't get the sticker.
It is now the next day.
It is the next day.
Boo. Continue, sorry.
I've seen him pop up in a number of places showing an extremely broad range as an actor. For example, he had a supporting role in the first two series of one of my all-time favorite TV shows, Skins. And obviously, he's shown off his skills in the Hooniverse before, both in Pompeii and more impressively, in my opinion, as Frobisher, the civil servant, not the penguin, in Children of Earth. Ooh, Peter Capaldi is the voice of Frobisher.
Peter Capaldi as the big one.
Yeah.
I'd buy that for $1. You know who should voice Frobisher? Brian Blessed.
I don't know. I just can't imagine Brian Blessed on that audio.
Now, obviously, he's been voiced before on the Big Finish audios, but when I was reading the Sixth Doctor comic that featured Frobisher, I just had this kind of like smarmy...
I did too.
Car salesman, used car salesman voice.
Who's the who plays the family lawyer in the Addams Family? He's got the very thick black bushy eyebrows.
Are you talking the movie or
the guy that was Nick Tortelli in the in Cheers?
Maybe.
I think that's who it was. Keith will look it up. He will IMDb.
IMDb that guy.
I'm IMDb-ing. That's in the first one.
As we derailed Alex's feedback.
Again.
For the third time.
He was also the dad in Clueless. That's Dan or Dennis or... I keep wanting to say Dennis Farina. And it's not Dennis Farina.
He was Nick Tortelli on Cheers. Okay. He was Carla's ex-husband.
I don't remember him on... I never watched it that much.
It's Dan something. Hydra. Dan...
Hydra? No, he wasn't a big multi-headed dragon.
Hedaya.
Almost there.
Let me see. Is there a picture?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's Frobisher.
Yeah, that is.
That's Frobisher.
That's Nick Tortelli.
That's the guy that needs to do Frobisher.
That's the first thing I ever saw him on was Cheers. So.
Which, according to you, is one of the greatest sitcoms ever.
If not the
greatest sitcom ever.
He's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Cheers is one of those sitcoms that I will sit down at Netflix and I go, what do I feel like watching? I'm going to watch an episode of Cheers. And I'll just like spin the wheel and any one of them is great. That's why I don't have to go, oh, this was one of my favorites. I'll go to this particular one because I can go, hey, that's one of my favorites. Seriously, it's one of the best shows ever.
The look of the guy who
that totally is
Frobisher.
That is totally Frobisher.
I can totally see him being Frobisher.
Oh, okay.
That's the real Frobisher?
That's the real Frobisher.
All right.
Wait, Robert Jezik. What has he done? He
probably should be British. Just
true. He was
penguins are not
Brigham
British.
Elijah Dashwood III.
Antarctic. He was who?
Brigham Elijah Dashwood III.
In
Minuet in Hell.
Oh, yeah. He was the bad guy.
And he was the recorder in Zagreus.
So he's done a lot of stuff that we've listened to.
He's been,
we'll have
and other stuff that we haven't
we'll
listened to
We'll have to listen to him as Frobisher when we get to the...
He was in Red Dawn?
Not to be confused with the...
Not the movie.
He was a police officer in Casino Royale.
Okay, move on.
You were asking. You said
you did ask.
I did ask.
And he did have IMDb open.
He did.
No, that was all Wiki.
He likes IMDb.
As a Wiki.
Oh, it was. Well, he likes
the first one was IMDb.
He likes Wiki too.
Okay, where was I?
I don't have any idea now. Sorry, Alex.
Frobisher the Civil Servant, not the Penguin.
In Children of Earth, where he gave what I consider to be a compelling and complex performance. Overall, I'm highly confident that his portrayal of the Doctor will be both innovative and familiar, and his casting has me even more excited than before for the show's post-50th future. Right, that's all for me. I'm off to start queuing up the remaining episodes of TTV I've missed whilst I've been away, so I can hear your opinions on Capaldi's casting. Apologies for mistakes in this email of the spelling, grammar, and common sense variety. It's almost 1 in the morning and I'm very tired. I seem to end up adding that to every feedback recently. Keep up the good work and happy traveling, Alex. Welcome back from India.
The more I see,
we're glad you're back, Alex.
The more
Safe.
I see of Peter Capaldi, the more I'm so excited about him being the Doctor. And even watching the thick of it, it's so vulgar. He's got such a potty mouth, and I think somebody actually did a mashup cartoon, which is supposedly pretty funny.
That's why he looks familiar.
Was he in something we've seen?
He was in Battlefield.
Oh, okay. Probably sure was in Battlefield. I mean, the
actor
voice.
who played.
Yeah. But anyway, the more and more I see Peter Capaldi, he's such a perfect pick. He's so good. Gosh, he's so good. Now I got to go back and watch Skins, because I forgot he was in Skins, too.
Well,
my sister was watching Skins.
They hit what we wanted.
I think that's on Netflix.
It is.
You know, we had kind of two requirements. One, we wanted a good actor. Okay, check. Mm-hmm. 2, we wanted to see him go slightly older.
Hey, does anybody remember me saying a long time ago that if BBC and Moffat and the gang are smart, they'll go with a recognized actor, at least in the UK? You remember me saying that?
I remember you saying that.
Yeah. And that's him.
That's him
celebrating.
That's
going celebrating because again, audio podcast. You can't see how close to.
Again, I was right.
Who's next?
Which someday I'll outweigh all the wrongs.
Not today.
Up next is Phil.
Because I'm fairly certain India's nothing like Canada.
That was taken out of context.
Odd Duck Phil writes, comment question, I got nothing. Hey, Hoopekins, not a lot to report yet, so I'll jump right in. 1, Peter Capaldi. Hey, it's the guy from Pompeii. And, he was Frobisher. The new Doctor's kind of a jerk.
Well, wait till you see him in the thick of it.
And he was in the thick of it, whatever that is. I'll just pop over to YouTube and see what that show's all about. Pause.
I hope there aren't children around.
The new Doctor's a potty mouth, too. All kidding aside, I'm very excited to see what he can do. I know I haven't seen a whole lot of Regenerations, but they're so full of potential and promise. How will he be different? What quirks will he adopt or abandon? You watch a Doctor for a few seasons, you get to know them well enough, you kind of know what they'll do in a given situation. A new Doctor is so full of possibilities. Maybe that's why I was excited for Smith's Doctor, even though Tennant is still mine. I was sad to see David go, but I was ready to see something new. 2, Classic Who. Through cunning, subtlety, panache, and a free month trial, I got my wife to abandon Hulu Plus for Netflix. Which means I can start watching Classic Who. Woo! Now, I don't have a lot of spare time right now, and even less time to watch TV, so I don't know how much I'll realistically be able to see. I know that I should start from the beginning, but I'd like to maximize my viewing and watch some key classic moments, and maybe go back to try and watch it all when time isn't such an issue. Also, given that 10 is my Doctor, is there a particular classic Doctor I should start with, or should I just focus on key story arcs?
Well, you only have a select amounts on Netflix, so you might as well just go in order because there's like 13 stories on Netflix or something like that.
If there's even that many now.
It's good that you'd like to maximize your viewing and watch some key classic moments, Phil, because
unfortunately
that's
those
all
key
Netflix
classic
has.
moments aren't on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, the Aztecs is still on there. I believe.
Aztecs is,
yeah.
But like Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah, it's gone.
I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah, in fact, I just went through it the other night.
Spearhead from Space.
Spearhead's on there, so
There
I
are
would
18
say
stories.
that's just it. There's no Troughton now, right? They took all of Troughton off.
No, Mind Robber's on there.
Mind Robber is on there. See,
you got Aztecs and
Mind Robber. Definitely do those. Spearhead and Space. Definitely do that one.
The Three Doctors is
City
on
of
there.
Death.
Three Doctors is on there. I would recommend that one.
Carnival of Monsters.
Carnival Monsters, City of Death.
Green Death.
The Green Death on
The
there.
Ark.
Which we're getting
Space.
ready. You can join us for Friday Night Who
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah.
If it stays on there, I think the closer they get to that releasing on DVD, they might drop that one off.
You think?
Yeah. Although Spearhead stayed on there when it released. several months ago. So.
And then it's going to be releasing again.
Well, just the Blu-ray.
Blu-ray.
It's been
Right.
out in the UK for a while. I don't. For some reason, we got delayed on it.
And then also the Ark in Space.
Which is a good one. There's
Pyramids
a
of
fourth
Mars.
Fourth Doctor. Another Fourth Doctor. See, there's a lot of good ones on Netflix.
There's a lot of
Or
good ones
Thing
on
Rock.
there.
There are a
You're
lot of
really
good
not
ones.
gonna. You're not gonna.
I would skip collection number 10, 11, 12.
He says collection. It actually says series on there. Don't
No,
be
it says
confused.
collection.
Oh, it does?
I
Oh,
have it right here.
Oh, it said
It
series
says
on mine.
Collection.
Oh, maybe they just changed it because I was just on there the other night. It said
13.
series.
Basically because not all of the Key to Time is on here.
Is Pirate Planet one of them that is?
See? Season.
Ribos. Huh.
And it says that on my iPad, too, because that's where I was looking at them.
Pirate Planet is.
Pirate Planet is. Phil,
I
you
don't
could-
know what it looks like on the TV.
You can watch Pirate Planet just because it's a Douglas
I
Adams.
think it'd be all right there, but there
You will
it's-
obviously
it's-
miss out on the overall
It's
story arc
missing
of Key to
2
Time.
of the Key of Time, right? It has
Let's see.
4 of the 6.
It doesn't have
It starts. Key to Time starts with Ribos, right?
Right.
So Rebos.
Right.
And then it goes Rebos.
Rebos.
Ribos,
It's Rebos.
Pirate Planet
Scarro.
is next, right?
right? Then Stones of Blood, which is not on there. I don't
Stones
think.
of Blood is not.
Right.
Andros
Andrew
of
Terra
Terra is.
is.
We do this every single time.
Power of Kroll
Is.
Is, and
But
then
then the
Armageddon.
final one
The final
isn't.
one is.
Armageddon Factor is not.
Of those, I would go with Pirate Planet.
Yeah.
Phil.
And City of Death. Definitely watch that one.
Definitely watch that. That's a good fourth Doctor.
Maybe skip Leisure Hive until you want to get.
Phil, let me suggest.
And
you guys
unfortunately,
correct me if
there's
I'm wrong.
mostly fourth
Correct me
Doctor.
if I'm wrong. I think Phil, based on his just the taste that I know of, and Sean, you know him better than I do, but just from what I've gleaned off of
His flavor.
his flavor, I think he should start with the Fourth Doctor,
I think you would like the fourth.
Probably.
and then if I were to go from there, then I would either do a Peter Davison or a Pertwee,
Probably.
and then from there, I'd work. I think you could work out from there.
You could probably do
Maybe
Troughton,
even-
since
Yeah,
Mind
Troughton.
Robber is the one that's on there.
Yeah, Troughton.
Which really, I mean,
That's if you want to jump around.
there's
If you want to
two-
go in order. But I think just to get kind of to get into it, because it is an acquired taste for some, and I don't know if it will be for you, Phil. But just I would jump into the Fourth Doctor first.
I think that's a good suggestion because also you have a bigger variety of options for the fourth Doctor because there's more stories on Netflix.
Fortunately, the one First Doctor that's on there, which would be maybe not so much for Phil, but for new viewers, doing anything in black and white that old is going to be tough. But fortunately, you can steer them towards Aztecs, and Aztecs a great story.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
I'm glad that one is still on there, representing the First Doctor.
And Davidson
But each
only
of them-
has like
each of them-
Earthshock and
The Earthshock's
Caves.
not on there.
Caves
Earth's
of
not-
Andromeda
It's
on
Caves and Visitation.
there. Yeah, Visitation's on there.
And then I think it's Curse of Fenric is the last one.
yeah,
I
Curse
closed
is
the
on there.
list.
Well, there's a Sixth Doctor
Is
on
there?
there, in there. Maybe there isn't
I don't think
anymore.
there
I don't think there
is.
is. So it didn't used to be.
Hold on, I'm pulling
Well,
it back up.
yeah, because Twin Dilemma or something was on there a long time
Or was
ago.
it Vengeance? No, it
Might have
wasn't
been Vengeance.
Anyway. Odd Duck Phil. P.S. A quick Last Airbender addendum. You need to watch them in order. It's very serial, and even the quote-unquote filler episodes tend to have characters, events, and ideas that will be revisited down the line. The first half of Season 1 can get a little dry as they establish the main characters, but
Yeah,
once the
right,
winter
King's the second
solstice arrives and the hero's task is revealed, the show really gets going. Season 1's a lot better after you've seen all of it and you go back and watch, as it's amazing to see how the characters have progressed, as well as seeing hints of things you didn't catch the first time around. It's anime-influenced Western animation. So if anime isn't your thing, the art may turn you off at times, but the story, characters, settings, voice acting, music, and action are all top-notch. See it if you can.
I'm going to take your word for that, Phil. I think that's probably true. Unfortunately, it still doesn't pique my interest, so I will try it, but it'll be a long time down the road after it's just going to be put in line with a lot of things, because like I say, I haven't seen it in order. I've seen several episodes as it was on when my daughter would be watching it, but there was nothing in it that appealed to me I thought was very
Maybe
good.
that's one of those things that since Caitlin's watching Doctor Who with you can say, I'd like to watch Last Airbender, will you watch it with me? And
Maybe.
Oh, that's a good idea.
She just watched it from time to time because it was on. I'm not even sure she was watching it. It was probably on between shows she was watching.
oh, it was one of those.
Yeah.
It's
So
still on
it's
my
not like
list.
she was-
It's definitely one I want to watch. I just haven't yet. So
Besides, I'm going to take the endeavor that Sean did and go back from start with Batman the animated series and rewatch all of that. We'll watch all the way up through. All right, next up is
Holly.
Holly's line. What do you call that?
Subject line?
Subject line. I don't know why I can't remember that. It's 7th Doctor, Shockwave, and Dragonfire. Hey guys, great last podcast. Brenda, looking forward to seeing some pictures from your trip to Cardiff. I hope that you had a fantastic time and your performances went brilliantly. Dragonfire. It's been a few weeks since I've seen this, and I'm going from memory here as I'm on holiday for a few weeks. We see the return of Glitz, the departure of Mel, and the appearance of Ace. The appearance of Ace. I enjoy the story and the interactions of the Doctor and Ace, Glitz, and Mel. Chrissy, I'll say it again, your idea about audio versions with Glitz is a good one. Shockwave. This was a good audio. Sophie Aldred did a great job switching back and forth between narrating and doing the voice of Ace. Sophie had the 7th Doctor's intonations down. 9J was an interesting character at first. I wasn't sure... was an interesting character. At first, I wasn't sure I could trust her, but her actions at the end proved me wrong. The appearance of 11 through the psychic cube was neat. Ace caught on right away as to who it was. Loved 11's comment to 7 about being nicer to Ace. No Space Buffalo this time. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on the episode. Holly from Wisconsin. Thank you, Holly.
I feel marginally
Enjoy your
bad.
holiday.
Yeah, no lie. I feel marginally bad. Wasn't Holly the one who kind of liked the 6th Doctor one, and we kind
She
of
liked the Space Buffalo.
She liked the Space Buffalo, and we bagged on it so badly. So
Well, to each his own. I teach her.
that's true. I always feel bad when I disagree with one of our listeners.
I do too, but then on the flip side of that, I know there are stories that I just absolutely hold dear, and people, wow, what? I can't believe you like that.
Yeah.
So.
Android Invasion. Invisible Enemy. Brain Amores.
Brady Mori is good. I think a lot of people like Brady
Horror Fang Rock.
Oh, that's a good one too.
I like
That's
that
one of
one.
that's one of the ones I enjoy.
Invisible Enemy.
You said Power.
You said
Did you
Invisible
say
Enemy
Power
already,
Crawl?
and I didn't
No, I
go
didn't
back
say
to
Power Crawl. Stones of Blood.
From the blood. See, I don't like Stones of Blood.
See? I don't feel bad when I disagree with you. Why is that?
I don't know.
Because he signed on for it.
Oh, yeah.
These other people are listening out of the goodness of their heart.
Good point.
Fair point.
Speaking of one of those, it's Chrissy. She writes, back to Pervale and time for tea.
Parabel.
Paravel. Yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Dear Vortex
Just
boys.
like Canada. Kind of.
Sort of.
You know, I had a whole big response prepared to Glenn's story about the ladies he heard at his library talking about how Peter Capaldi wasn't young and good-looking. My response was along the lines of, I'm ashamed of that fellow librarians would say stuff like that, and at least no one I know personally feels that way. But then I went to work on Tuesday and talked to a coworker of mine. She's about my age, maybe a year or two younger. But all she said was she wasn't going to be watching Doctor Who anymore because they cast an older guy to be the Doctor. So that blew that response to pieces. Tuesday was just a bad day all the way around. Long story. You know, Nicolette, a new employee that works with us, is a Who fan.
What?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
And she asked me what I thought about it. And she's going to continue watching because she's younger than me. But she was kind of disappointed by the casting, too. I don't know why I just thought of that. Probably because she
There's
mentioned
going
the
to be people
coworker.
out there that were disappointed.
But she's going to give him a chance.
Yeah. See? That's all I ask. That is all I ask.
Unless they had cast a Space Buffalo. I might stop watching at that point. Now, if it was Brian Blessed playing the Space Buffalo, who was playing Doctor Who, I'd stick around. But if it was just a Space
Brian
Buffalo...
Blessed, don't be a Space Buffalo.
She continues with, I'm going to speak as a young-ish female fan when I say that I think Peter Capaldi is very good-looking.
I think he's a handsome man. I agree with you, Chrissy.
But I'm more interested in how he's going to play the part and what he'll bring to the role. His looks, and this extends to any actor's looks in any role, are just a bonus, really. My enthusiasm for the announcement has not lessened in the slightest, and I know I'm not the only one. I've seen plenty of posts on Tumblr already shipping 12 and River, so there certainly hasn't been any slowing down of in the shipping department. That being said, I do think there have been some very immature comments made by fangirls about Peter Capaldi, and there have also been some very immature comments made by some in fandom about stupid airhead fangirls as a whole, and that's not acceptable either.
Sean knows
I'm not talking about you Vortex boys at all. Nothing you guys have said has crossed any lines.
Sean had one incident, but it wasn't on the show. It was on Twitter.
I was sweating a little bit.
I didn't see that tweet.
Oh, this was early.
No, this was his embattled 12-year-old.
I was defending your doctor, the 12-year-old who...
I saw half of that conversation.
And most of that conversation, he didn't realize they were 12 until I chimed in there and kind of pointed out that she was 12. Then I think he felt bad.
She continues with...
I will never forget that. I'm going to go back in your stream and find that Twitter stream. That was so...
She was being a space buffalo. I'm sorry.
I can just see Sean. Imagine he's having a battle of wits with some 20-year-old.
Stimulating conversation.
And then me coming in and popping his bubble. And he realizes she was 12. I'm sorry. Go on.
She says, I think everybody needs to calm down and quit being jerks to each other. I know in some cases that's like asking a cat to voluntarily get in the bathtub, but for pity's sake, do we have to fight about something that we all supposedly love? How about this? Whether people are moaning about one actor's age or whether people are moaning about a particular section of fandom, might I request that you either button it or locate the nearest TARDIS exit and leave the rest of us to enjoy this new chapter of Doctor Who history in peace. If anyone wants to apologize for those dumb comments, we Whovians are a forgiving bunch. You can blame your lapse in propriety on the Space Buffalo if you like. We blame everything else on that guy.
He has officially been elevated above the Merca.
Because the Merca was endearing. For all of its faults, for all of its flaws, for all of its what happened here, the Merca has character. The Space Buffalo, not so much. You know what's funny? I remember...
Is that it?
No, she continues.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's all on the subject, so
Okay.
if you want to tangent...
Well, do we want to tangent?
I've got to mention that goes along with what she's talking about.
Go ahead.
Well, it's funny that we're discussing now, and we're guilty of doing it as well, that we're discussing this like divide in fandom now. But to be quite honest with you, and it must be because I don't go to certain places, the only thing that I've seen, other than overhearing the ladies at the library, the only place that I've really seen this discussion of fans that are upset about Peter Capaldi and because that being older and not as attractive is through fans that are mad that that's happening. Seriously, still the overwhelming amount of responses that I have seen have been positive about Peter Capaldi. And I don't see this huge divide in fandom. I still see this little microcosm of people that are going to kind of drop off, and that's fine. But I think it's because of where I go and get my Doctor Who news and network with Doctor Who fans. But I really only hearing it through the people that are saying, that it's being said.
It would be akin to being a Democrat and never watching Fox News to know what was going on the other side of the equation.
That's a good point, but but that's
that's where you got everything.
He goes to MSNBC instead of Fox,
right?
Exactly. Exactly. That you never hear the other side of it because that's not your circle.
But it's funny that I keep we're sort of swinging this and making it sound like this big divide, but I don't think it is. I think it's minor. Because I still have heard this overwhelming acceptance and just jubilation that Peter Capaldi is the new Doctor. So
I think for the most part,
I don't think we are farting. I don't think we are fighting over this. I think got a few fringe people that not French. French people.
Well, they might be French.
I don't want to offend anybody. Well, French.
Except for the Canadians or the Thailand or the Indians.
They don't have Wi-Fi there. They don't get our show.
Have Wi-Fi in Canada?
No, you said it was just like India. Apparently, there's no Wi-Fi in Canada.
I don't know what I was talking about. Keep going. Go on. What were you going to say?
There's at least one 12-year-old who's really excited about Peter Capaldi. You know why? Because it's not Matt Smith anymore.
No, I was going to say that it's. I just imagine. I haven't seen a lot of it either. And I just imagine it's the same group of people that are upset that it's not David Tennant again.
David Tennant's dad. Hey, David Tennant's dad's the new Doctor.
Have you seen the pictures of Peter in glasses, and then the scene of Rory in glasses?
Mm-hmm.
It's uncanny.
Yeah, it really is.
He looks like an old Rory.
Yeah,
Really?
He does.
Yeah, he really does.
Well, see, fangirls, there you know what you have to look forward to. No, I remember when Star Trek Voyager was on, and we got through the third season, and then the fourth season debuted, and they introduced Seven of Nine as a character. Jerry Ryan in a cat suit. Okay, so
This ain't your dad's board.
yeah, we know what you're trying to do here. You know, you're not really fooling anybody
Right.
with this new dynamic. You've put a very hot chick in a skin tight outfit. You're going for sex appeal.
Right.
That's it, pure and simple. As a fan of Star Trek, I was offended. Now, as a guy, yeah, I was thrilled. Bring her on. I'm ready to see what adventures we get here. But as a fan, I was a little put off by the whole idea, just from the fact that they were casting purposefully. They were creating a new character purposely to try and get this younger male demographic, which is the supposedly sought-after thing. And in a way, I can safely say that I think that's one thing that the BBC is not looking into, because if it was all purely about eyes in front of screens, surely they would have gone for a female doctor to appeal to that young male demographic that's so important.
Well, no, I think
They'd have made Clara the 12th Doctor and called it good.
There's a lot of factors in there, and I don't think it's... I mean, I think young and attractive probably was in there. It just got outweighed by other factors. And I know, that's why we spent so much time on
it is. It's interesting. This is kind of the news. This is what the pulse of people are continuing to discuss and talk about. So.
Well, apparently not.
Well, at least in that microcosm, we think they are.
Not in India.
But
Possibly
not in India.
in France.
Possibly in France.
Chrissy says, that's all I'm going to say on the subject. On to much happier topics. And thank you, Brenda, for providing us with your report from the Doctor Who experience. I was very touched by your description of the different things you'd seen and how you thought of all of us back home when you saw them. It made me feel like I was actually with you at the experience. So thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. I can't wait to see your pictures when you get back.
Hear, hear.
I thought Glenn made a motion that he was going to say something.
No, when did she come back? Because
I don't know. She's still over there.
kind of. Is she still over there?
I think she
Because I had
is.
kind of hoped that we would see something by now, but I thought maybe she did get back and she's
Because
just slept for
last
6
week
days
she went to the Harry Potter thing. During last week.
It was towards the end is when
Yeah.
you said that she was over there doing that.
So when you go to London, you don't go for a week.
No.
You got to make that plane fare worth it.
Yeah.
'Cause it's an expensive flight.
I'm planning on spending a month.
I think that's a good solution.
Yeah.
Chrissy continues.
What are you looking? What?
You can't afford a month.
Sure, I could.
You sleeping in a hostel or?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then maybe.
I'm going to stay with Alex and Mark. And
We have enough friends over there.
and Robbie. I'm
Did you
going
hear that, Alex, Mark, Robbie?
I'm going to farm out my time staying at other people's houses. It'll be like the Traveling the Vortex Bed and Breakfast Bureau.
We'll podcast for food.
You provide him a bed and breakfast, and he'll provide the entertainment.
I'll put ferrets in my trousers. What do you want me to do?
Chrissy continues, and now we continue our march to the 50th anniversary with the 7th Doctor and reviews. Dragonfire. I quite like this story. It's a really good introduction to Ace, and we even get some neat backstory for her character. Though how it's plausible that she ended up on another planet via an experiment with explosives gone wrong, well...
Time storm.
I read fantasy novels. I've suspended my disbelief for worse.
It was a time storm.
Yeah.
That's what she said. She described it as a time storm. And ever since I heard her say time storm, the third or fourth time I saw this story, but because I used to think the same thing. I thought she got from 20th century London,
potent Niger 9
to some futuristic planet. And I never could figure that out. I thought that was so weird. And then it wasn't until my second or third viewing that she described, the explosive experiment, and she got whipped up into a time storm. And I went, huh. Never has one word fixed a problem so adequately. Time storm. I'm that good.
It was just like time bandits. A group of midgets broke into her bedroom during the middle of the experiment and carted her off through a hole in a map.
Time storm. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Works.
Just for you, when I get around to writing the Seventh Doctor short story adventure, I'm going to call it Time Storm.
Oh, yes! That's awesome. Ooh, you know what would be really cool? Is if
I wrote a Seventh Doctor short story.
The explosion triggers the time storm, but the Seventh Doctor has to deliver her safely through it, but unbeknownst to her. And she ends up here. And if the Doctor hadn't been there, she would have died in the time storm. Or she would have died in the explosion. And somehow he has to create the time storm in order for her to survive.
Like that.
You write that.
Okay.
You saw we were volunteering you to write some other stuff?
Yeah, I saw
okay,
that. Apparently I have to write an erotic romance novel between
Mel and
Glitz now.
Chrissy continues. I could make so many jokes, but I'm not going to. And for all the talk that the McCoy era suffered the most from lunch money budgets, the sets and the costumes and effects look pretty darn good in this story. I was sufficiently impressed, all things considered. Sabalon Glitz is back, which is fun. Though I'd like to know what happened to Dibber. I also liked Ace and Mel's interactions, and this makes me wish that they could have both traveled with the Doctor for a few episodes. But I guess Mel wanted to travel with Glitz instead. Draw your own conclusions here. So we ended up with what eventually becomes the last companion departure for Classic Who. One thing about the infamous cliffhanger at the end of episode 1, I watched the documentary on the DVD, and there's a bit where Sylvester McCoy talks about how the script said the Doctor was supposed to accidentally slip off the edge of the slope and only hangs on by his umbrella, and that was going to be the cliffhanger. But there was some miscommunication with the set design team. They didn't build the set quite right. But there wasn't time to fix it once they figured out that something was wrong. So the Doctor ended up climbing over the railing instead, and that's why the scene seems weird. It would make sense otherwise.
At what point do you think, well, I'll just climb over the railing and that'll fix it?
I would think slipping and sliding underneath the railing would have been a better option.
Yeah, because there's nothing underneath.
Yeah, I mean, they kept going over it, but you might as well just crawl under.
Well, and McCoy pantomimed sliding around in the ice so much during that story.
Yeah,
poorly.
Yeah.
Mm. Sorry.
It's hard to slide around when you have a bunch of styrofoam
it is.
on your feet.
I totally agree. It is difficult, but
especially when all that stuff is there.
If you're going to pantomime it and you can't pull it off, don't do it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. It's a valid point. Yeah. She continues with Shockwave. This is a pretty solid story, but coming after Space Buffalo, it's downright genius. There's nothing really over the top or out of the ordinary here, but that's why it works so well. It's almost like we've had so many stinkers with this Destiny of the Doctor line that anything that's moderately good is seen as very exceptional.
Sorry, I'll get into that in a moment. Mind blown. Go ahead.
Either way, I enjoyed listening to the story. I liked its straightforward plotline, and the Doctor and Ace land somewhere, and they weasel their way into a position of power. There are lives in danger, and they need to save somebody, and they find this mysterious message sent by the 11th Doctor. They save people, or someone else close by saves people, and that's the end of the story. It's well acted and performed. I love Sophie Aldred's imitation of the Seventh Doctor. She's really good at it. And I can't find anything bad to say about it. Prisoners of Time 7. Ace is one of the few people who can get away with wearing a leather bomber jacket with a Victorian dress. Or maybe it's just the way she's drawn. Anyway, another solid entry in the Prisoners of Time range. The Ainley Master gets to dress like the Roberts Master. So maybe that's a direct homage that Eric Roberts being inspired by Anthony Ainley. Or maybe I'm reading too much into the story. We also find out that the Master is in league with whoever is abducting the Doctor's companions through time, but not much more than that. Who's left for this mystery villain to be? I guess it could be Turlo, though I did think of Chameleon as well. Or it might be someone that we've never heard of before.
I sort of thought it was Chameleon because it makes a comment of he's working with an old friend or something.
Yeah. Either way, but he said an old friend of yours.
Yeah.
Or should I say
true.
companion?
That's true.
Either way, enjoyed this one. I'm done rambling for this week. I've had a great have a great podcast, everyone. But she writes that's not it for this week because she sent in a PS. She says, I saw it on Facebook that it's Keith's birthday. It was or will be. I couldn't find the actual date.
Yeah, why doesn't it say on your
'Cause
Facebook
I've
page
hidden
what the
it.
date? Oh. From your friends, too?
From everybody.
Bastard.
I couldn't find the actual
Okay,
date.
I texted Sarah and found out.
If I'm late with this. Many
Well, you didn't
apologies.
know?
So,
No, I
happy
wasn't
birthday,
certain.
Keith.
I thought it was, but it wasn't.
Yes, it is now officially my birthday.
I think we've talked
Happy
about
birthday.
it being a
Thank
couple of
you.
days after Caitlin's, but I couldn't remember.
I've just
exactly.
never been one of those people that like to get a bunch of attention for my birthday, so I don't put it out there.
Okay.
That's just how I've always been. But thank you very much, Chrissy, for the birthday.
But you realize those of us that know it's your birthday are going to put happy birthday
Well,
on Facebook,
I
and
know.
then you're going to just follow. It's going to be followed by a string of happy birthdays.
I didn't know it was
so.
your birthday today.
Very good.
I didn't say it was a perfect plan.
All right. So what
Although
we're reviewing
I think
first.
I left my birthday on the Google because I was curious to see if it would do what it did
Oh
for you.
yeah, that's right.
So go and wish me happy birthday on Google Plus, please.
Okay, we'll do that.
Because it didn't do it for my sister.
That's right. You told me that. All right. So
Shall we move on to Dragonfire? Or do you want to do
let's do Dragonfire because Ace is in all of these, and since this is in our introduction, let's do it
Okay,
that way.
that's a good.
Ooh, small text.
I'll buy that for $1.
Really? Smaller than normal? There must be a lot of stuff on the disc. The box. They'd make the box bigger.
What?
The special, the stuff that's on the disc.
The
Is
box
it bigger?
in for the extras, not the DVD box.
Is this
Oh,
bigger
that-
than normal?
This?
Yeah.
I don't think it's... The text is smaller, but I think it's smaller. Yeah, so the extras box? Okay, I
Yeah,
see what you're saying.
that's what I mean. Is
Okay,
it-
I get
that
you.
why maybe they made the
think,
text smaller?
Yeah,
because,
that could be.
okay.
I don't know, pull a...
Well, not compared to that.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
no, Ghostlight. Maybe it's a 7th
Yeah, but
Doctor.
look how tiny look how tiny it is on that one too.
It must be just the
No
way
one can
they're...
see this. Well, you got Ghostlight.
Yeah.
It came.
Well, a long
You
time
never
ago.
said it.
Yeah, I thought they did.
You know what it is? Keith's birthday's today. His eyesight's starting to fail.
1 year closer to the 30.
You're only 29 still?
Yep.
Good Lord.
I do. I'm only 29 by like an hour.
You're so young.
And your eyesight's already starting to fail.
As long as I've had glasses. Okay, Dragonfire. At the Ice World Space Trading Colony on Svartos, the Doctor and Mel unexpectedly encounter an old friend. The penniless and desperate Sablung Glitz has only one option to leave Svartos. Find the fabled Dragonfire treasure concealed somewhere in the depths of the planet. Joined by Ace, a teenage waitress with a love for explosives, the group ventures off to uncover lost riches. Not knowing that Kane, Iceworld's ruthlessly intimidating overlord, will gladly murder them all to gain possession of the Dragonfire himself. Before long, The doctor finds himself playing a deadly game of cat and mouse with Kane's mercenaries descending through the ice caverns ever closer towards the deadly gaze of the monstrous dragon that lurks below.
That's why they made the text so small. They felt like they had to get all of that in there.
Below.
Is that the end?
Lurks below, yes.
Lurks below. Dun, dun, dun.
That was a good level of dun dun dun, Sean.
Thank you. I've been reining in my excitement for you. Always standing in front of a mirror practicing.
This is a story I have seen multiple times, and which is odd for me because back in the day, I wasn't a huge fan of the Seventh Doctor era, but
despite the
this is probably my fourth viewing of this.
Mine too, I think.
Mine first.
But my first time all the way through.
Oh, is that right?
You never made it all the way through?
Be only my third all the way.
Did
through.
you give up at the cliffhanger? He's never going to survive that. I can't come back.
Well, show's over. Well, the first time this came on, I caught bits and pieces of the latter end of it and didn't realize what it was.
The latter end?
The latter end, not the ladder.
Oh.
Well, the latter end would have the ladder.
The hind end of it, where I didn't realize what it was because it was the first McCoy I'd ever seen. I didn't recognize the Doctor or anything like that. But just the look of it, something said to me, "This is Doctor Who." I just instinctually knew that's what it was.
I think I zeroed in the umbrella. But.
Well, yeah, maybe.
And the vest.
And the vest.
And then, so I was like, well, I don't want to jump ahead. I don't want to,
It's British, wobbly sets, question marks.
Sci-fi.
Hey, this must be Doctor Who.
There's a dragon. But I think I instinctively knew it was Doctor Who, but I didn't want to watch it because I hadn't seen any of the beginning parts of it. So I watched 20 minutes or so and then tuned away. And then I came back and caught most of the beginning episode at one point in time and realized, I think this is the one that I kind of saw that first time. And I couldn't get through it. I turned it off. It had reached that kind of height of ridiculousness where it was aiming just low enough below what I was accustoming my Doctor Who to be that I just kind of didn't want it. I've since gone back and rewatched it mostly, and then finally got to finish it off on Friday Night Who, and I really enjoyed it. I like this story a lot. There's a lot of things wrong with it, but it's just one of those.
It's a lot of fun.
It's just a fun episode.
And it's one of those that, kind of like you were saying, it's the ridiculousness is what makes it so much fun. Is you can sit back and just kind of laugh at what's going on because some of it's just played comically.
Yeah.
And part of that is Glitz is such a fun character, and it's so fun to see his interactions with the Doctor.
Yeah. I think I've seen this a number of times. Not because it's a good story. I like it. I enjoy it a lot, and I enjoyed enough to watch it again. But it's not because it's one of my favorites or anything. But I think ultimately what happened was I went through the run of Doctor Who because I was catching up with 6 and 7, and I watched 6 through 7 from beginning to end years and years and years ago. And I came across this one, and there were so many stinkers, at least that I thought were stinkers back then, in the McCoy era. With I wasn't a fan, definitely, of Delta and the Bannerman. I wasn't a fan of Paradise Towers. I wasn't a fan of I think I'm going backwards here, but Time in the Ronnie. Those weren't terrific Doctor Who to me. And so when I finally got to this one, and I went, it was a refreshing change in story, and it was good, and I actually enjoyed it. And I think what happened is, back when I was watching these, I would make a copy for my iPods because I was still photogging, and so I would keep a copy on there so I could watch. Well, this one just happened to stay on there, and so when I'd get bored somewhere, I'd watch this, So that's why I had seen it so many times because it was actually enjoyable. It was still on my iPod, so I'd watch it from time to time. But I really enjoy Ace in this. In fact, I liked Ace from the beginning. When they introduced Ace all the way to the end, I've always loved Ace. I thought she was a fantastic companion. It was a nice change of pace to put a younger companion with a grandfatherly or older. Maybe it's more patriarch or uncle in this one as well, but rather than the granddaughter scenario we had originally. We hadn't done that for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, Adric was sort of a minor example of that, but I mean, this really felt like that whole...
Adric still, maybe because Peter Davidson's so young himself, he still felt like younger brother.
Not to mention, Adric was very intelligent too.
Yeah.
So they sometimes would put the doctor and Adric on the same level, even when it was, the doctor. But another thing that I think they had going against them was they also had Romana was on board when Adric came along too. So
initially.
And
then they kind of replaced her with Nissa, who's also...
Right, exactly. So you didn't quite get that same relationship. But so this was the first time they kind of went back to that. And I thought that was a great idea to kind of go back to this. She calls him professor a lot. And I've always really felt that that's the relationship is a student and professor is really what... she's learning from him as a student. And I think that I get a lot of that from that. So
I was kind of surprised at how quickly she started calling him professor.
Yeah.
But as somebody during Friday Night Who pointed out, apparently she just likes to give people nicknames because she was calling Mel Donut the entire time for no reason.
I want to address the cliffhanger because I know we get there eventually, but I've been thinking.
You don't want to save that for a cliffhanger?
I have never wondered why he stepped over the rail until people started calling that to my attention. Because number one, when he steps over the rail and he climbs down, my impression is he's trying to get down to another level. That just by the time he gets to the bottom of the umbrella, he realizes that, that's a further drop than I anticipated it would be. I felt he was finding a quicker way to get down instead of finding a longer path to get down there. He thought it would be quicker and easier to go over the rail and hang down and then drop. Then when he gets to the end of the umbrella, realizes he misjudged his height.
Because head-on shot, where it's the face of the ice face, makes it look almost like you can see another railing of a walkway below.
Or just the walkway down there.
And I would buy that. But the overhead shot of his feet dangling above this empty chasm is like...
But the thing here's the thing is, when Glitz finally comes along and rescues him, he doesn't pull him back up, right?
No,
he's down below him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my point. So when I see that happen, I was always impressed under the impression that when they do the overhead shot, it was more for dramatic effect of, wow, there's a lot of drop-off if he did fall. But I always got the impression that slightly back underneath it, because it was looking at a certain angle, there was that walkway down there. And Glitz is down there and actually
has enough room on that walkway.
And how does Ace and Mel get down there?
Yeah, by a ladder going over.
That's my point. So it's almost like they realize that you have to go scale down this thing, and that's what the doctor was doing. So it wasn't until
did Glitz take a longer way?
You don't see how Glitz gets down there, so you wonder if maybe
he climbed down the doctor.
Well, he could have, or could have gone a longer route, which unfortunately then the seventh Doctor would have to hang on for a long time. But they don't explain that, unfortunately. Because we don't know how he gets down there, but we know he can get down there. So it never dawned on me, it never occurred to me that people were confused as to why he went over the rail and hung down there. Because in my opinion, he was doing what he thought was going to get him down to the next level, and that was to hang over that rail. He just, when he got to the bottom, because he doesn't even seem too concerned until he gets almost to the end of the umbrella. And then he's
starting to slide.
Yeah.
Like he's got the umbrella and he's got his grip, and all of a sudden he starts to slide down the umbrella and he begins to get a little worried.
Yes.
And then he gets to the bottom of the umbrella and he's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, and then that's the expression of, now I'm in real trouble, and that's why I thought, okay, he's just misjudged how far the drop is. I find it funny when people are saying, why on earth did he just crawl up over the rail? If they didn't have the rail there and he had slipped over the side, I would have had a problem with the fact that Glitz gets him from underneath and helps him down, and I thought, well, that's dumb that he slipped over the side because he wasn't going to die. He was going to fall into that level down there. So, I mean, it's never bothered me that he had to climb up over that rail. There's a reason why he climbed up over that rail. He thought he was going to get down there quicker.
To get to the other side.
Yeah.
That's why you climb over a railing.
And then the whole getting down from Glitz. Wow.
Now, you had said that somebody somewhere said he was supposed to slip.
That's what Chrissy said.
What we read in the production. According to Wiki, the production says, as scripted, the Doctor did have a logical motivation for his actions. According to Cartmel, in a later interview, the passage leading to the cliff was meant to be a dead end, leaving the Doctor no option but to scale the cliff face. As shot, however, the reasoning became unclear. I don't know, just variations on the theme. He still went over the railing. Real quick, I want to touch on this because my battery's about to die. Unless I can... I didn't bring my charge cable, so never mind. According to Wiki, the character of Salabam Glitz, with whom Mel left to depart the galaxy, first appeared on the mysterious planet alongside the Sixth Doctor. Ian Briggs, who created the character of Ace...
Got a free one?
Huh. Yeah, he's got one.
Yes, indeed.
Ian Briggs, who created the character of Ace, stated in Ace's character outline for Dragonfire, she had slept with Glitz on Iceworld. Now, I only bring that up because that suddenly...
She what?
She'd slept with Glitz. Ace did. That suddenly kind of explains why she's so anti-Glitz from the get-go.
Right at the beginning.
She's very jaded lover.
But there's something very wrong with that.
Yeah,
Because
because she's
underage.
16.
She is 16.
The Paul Cornell written New Adventures novel, Love and War, implies this. And his later novel, Happy Endings, confirms that Ace lost her virginity to Glitz.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Wow, bold stuff.
I was quite shocked to read that. So,
Well, that explains why Ace has some real mental issues later on, too, in a lot of the novels. So, to me, at least... Huh.
Interesting.
Not trying to bring anybody down, just... I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
then
I
she-
interrupted you. You
Did
were
she
about to
feel
say
real
something.
jaded when Mel ran off with Glitz?
Didn't seem to.
Nope.
She was kind of like... Although, does that make Mel a better person? Because Ace is about to make a huge mistake by accepting the coin and going off with Kane, and Mel's up there screaming, "Don't do it, Ace! Don't do it! Don't do it!" And yet Mel's going to go off with Glitz, and not once does Ace come to her rescue and say, "Don't do it!
Don't do it! Don't do it!" I'll be darned.
I don't know. Kind of explains a lot about her mental fortitude to go after a Dalek with a baseball bat, though, too.
Yeah.
I suppose that's true as well.
Interesting.
I interrupted you.
I don't
didn't.
remember
That's
what I was
weird.
saying. I thought...
Well, the novels can kind of extrapolate. I'm sure it wasn't a 50-page expose on what happened.
No,
it was just mentioned. But
it just seems strange that they would do that with such a young character. But especially in
is
the
that a big deal in England?
Especially in the realm of Doctor Who. I don't know.
I would think it's probably not as big of a deal in England as it is here. We tend to be more prudish about a lot of
We
stuff.
are very prudish, but still 16, that's awfully young.
But maybe it's because we're British. I don't know.
I interrupted you. I'm
But
sorry,
that
I don't
theft
mean
of
to.
innocence there, it sort of kind of really explains some of her character.
It does.
I thought the whole exploration with Kane and his whole everything about him was very interesting, and the xenomorph dragon totally was a xenomorph, because this was even after 87, so after Alien.
Well, they filmed Aliens at a power plant in England.
Just the
It's the spine more than
just the
anything.
spine.
Just the
The
spine.
rest of it doesn't.
Well, the head kind of a little.
It kind of
It's
looks like the Alien
elongated,
Queen.
but that's it. Well, but the Queen was that would have been before that.
She had
as
the
well.
huge.
Yeah. I was thinking that was post this, but that would have been before this as well.
Why are you not sure?
But I thought all of this was very, very cool. Despite all of the ridiculousness in it. It's got very ridiculous moments, like it's having trouble installing something. It's trying to install software.
Don't let it do that.
rather. Oh, it's...
Are you plugged in?
Yes.
I just get a message
It's
saying not charging.
installing driver software. Nope.
Well, you can't plug it in. You don't have room.
Yeah, I do, but you can't get over to me. I'll go across the front. This interruption brought to you by charging Sean's iPad.
I don't want to hear it from you who plugs into my port every week.
Driver software not installed. Well, no, duh, I unplugged it.
Interesting. Apparently, you cannot charge an iPad off of a PC.
Well, I'm sure you could once you set it up and plug it in the first time.
Actually, you know what? You can't because PCs don't have enough power coming from the charger from the USB port.
Really?
I don't think
do.
I have. Yeah, I don't think I have a 3.0.
Yeah, if you own an iPad and you have a PC computer, you have to plug into a wall socket.
I didn't. I would
Yeah,
have never
forgot
suspected
I
that.
forgot about that. There's actually a program that you can download that will allow you to. We're tanging, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this. There is a program that you can download to your computer that will tell your motherboard to give more power to a USB port, and then you can charge an iPad. So I had to do that at work. That's the reason I know. But yeah, you're natively you can't charge an iPad off of a. You can. It just will tell you it's not charging, and it's such a small, weak charge that it would take forever to get another percentage. I mean, like hours to get like from
I think it's that way with my
20%
phone,
to
and it's not even
22%. So
an iPad.
yeah, so there's just not as much juice going from the USBs, but they're designed that way in the Mac.
Well, because Mel's had my laptop tied up all week with her studying for her
There was a reason why we did
fire
that.
inspector. That's why I'm on the iPad.
Sean's on the iPad.
It's also why I didn't get to tweet out all of the fun, interesting tidbits during Friday Night Who as Traveling the Vortex that I normally give you, so you'll get them now. Sophie Aldred actually auditioned for the part of the tomboy Ray from Delta and the Bannermen, but lost the part to Sarah Griffiths.
I think she would have been much better, but I'm glad that she didn't get it because then we
Then
probably
we might
would have
not have
gotten
gotten
those
these.
Because she wouldn't talk like this? Like everything was at the end of a sentence?
Maybe they would have made her.
Mel departs, obviously.
Which I thought that felt very abrupt and strange.
You know, here's my problem. One of my problems with this story is Mel has nothing to do in this. It's
Well,
all Ace.
yeah.
I mean, Mel. She
does get to throw a few explosives.
Yeah, but it's very weak. There's almost like not a reason for her to be there.
Are you saying
So-
Mel throws like a girl?
She
No,
kinda did.
I'm just saying.
She did. She totally
It really. I mean, the only benefit she has is she kind of talks Ace out of going. You know, out of being influenced.
And she screamed at the sight of the dragon.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
Again.
not really a benefit. It's not an attribute.
Which this kind of, having seen her introduction now and seen her in, this really sums up Mel. It's just kind of random. And
I don't know that she's random.
well,
It
she,
just-
she gets thrown in there with no explanation and leaves with no explanation.
Well,
it's just kind of like she's almost an enigma
Yeah. Langford.
wrapped in a scream.
She left with an explanation. She was done traveling and she fell in love with Glitz. And she
Well,
didn't
we
want
don't
to
know
admit
for
it.
sure that she fell
I
in love
think
with
she did.
Glitz.
I'm
but
shipping it right now.
Mel and Glitz.
I agree with you, Glenn, but the show does not tell us why
Yeah.
she leaves.
Well, the
She
show
just-
doesn't tell us that Perry really ended up with you. Kind of.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, there was a line. But
Langford.
there's no reason why she wanted to leave. I just didn't understand why.
Well, she wanted to leave because Langford was dissatisfied with her role,
Well,
and so
Well, and then
Left on
that
her
must
own.
have been why they didn't give her much in this to do in this one. Then they said, well, if she thought she was dissatisfied with what we were giving her before. Here's nothing.
this is also interesting. The farewell scene between the Seventh Doctor and Mel.
I think that's part of why I was so
It's a little bit, okay, have fun.
It's so disconcerting the
Yeah.
way the Doctor reacts to it. Oh well, yes, time. Who's coming? Who's going? Who knows what's going on?
Right.
Being very Doctorish, but not very Seventh Doctor.
Yeah.
Maybe this will explain that. Mel's departure scene was adapted from Sylvester McCoy's Screen Test. Janet Fielding was hired to act as a departing companion and villain. Dr. McCoy stated that he always liked that particular Screen Test script and lobbied for its inclusion to be used in Dragonfire.
So Mel was a bad guy?
I don't know that.
Oh.
The Screen Test script, apparently there was a bad guy.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it's a nice it's a nice bit of dialogue, but it just doesn't feel like it's the right place.
Yeah.
It almost should
feels
be
out of place.
in that great metaphysical debate he gets in with the guard.
Yes.
That's almost where that should have been.
Which I love the fact that the guard continues to engage him on it. It's like a distraction, and the doctor
totally
almost
puts him
goes.
on his back
The
foot.
doctor goes a little cerebral there, and then suddenly, or philosophical, and the guard's keeping up with him, and the doctor is kind of like, Well.
And then that exchange when he finally gets away, I think she wants to kill us. Oh, an existential.
Yes.
One of the guard's lines about the semiotic thickness of a performed text is a quotation from Doctor Who, The Unfolding Text, a 1983 media studies volume by John Turlock. Story editor Andrew Cartmel suggested that writers need to read the unfolded text to familiarize ourselves with Doctor Who and its history. Ian Briggs was inspired to quote the academic text in his script for a playful self-reference.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
One other interesting tidbit here: the Kane's face melting, although very similar to the death of Tote in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because this was a family show, they carefully avoided the color red when they built the
I did
bust.
notice that.
Yeah.
But I can rationalize that in my head because he's so ice-based.
Yeah, I could too.
Yeah. Not a problem.
Ronald Lacey, who portrayed Tote in Raiders of the Lost Ark, was director Chris Clow's first choice to play Kane, but was unavailable.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That would have been very cool. Can you imagine being able to say, yeah, I was a villain in 2 pieces and melted at the end. Both
Yeah. Occupation, face melting.
I did kind of feel like...
Oh, now I read the script. Oh, now I know where I got this part.
I did kind of feel like the dispatching of Kane was very quick.
It was. But
it would seem kind of
it was
like
quick and clean. It wasn't like...
I'm just gonna go open the window because my world is gone. It made sense, but it felt
quick and
very
clean.
rushed.
I liked it. It was fine.
But then again, I sat through this entire thing thinking it was 4 parts.
Oh.
I'm like, what are they gonna do next?
That'd have been my bad.
Did you tell him it was 4
I
parts?
forgot that it was only 3.
How is
Most of them in McCoy's run were 3.
Yeah.
There were a few 4. I think Resurrection is...
Resurrection's a 4.
Is it 4 or 5? I thought it was more than 4.
No, it's 4.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe that's why this one seems to, in my mind, I think Dragonfire is incredibly well paced.
Yeah, it is.
And
it
I
totally
think maybe it's because it's only 3
I
parts
think so, too.
that they don't have to have that
Feel
extra
compelled
segment
to fill it.
of running amok. You know, we're just
I totally agree.
We still have cliffhangers.
Literal cliffhangers.
And chases and escapes.
Literal
and,
chases.
Things that work.
So half of his stories were 3 episodes, half of his stories were 4.
Yeah.
Even split.
Yeah.
6 and 6.
There you go.
But it just seems like that's, I don't know, maybe 3 is the nice, perfect number.
I think 3 is...
Certainly listening to a lot of Big Finish, I wish this had been a 3-parter.
And I think it is a great pace for 7th's run. Because looking at the list of 3 episodes, Dale and the Bannerman being the exception, I really enjoyed all the 3 episode stories.
Survival was a...
Survival was,
yeah.
Silver Nemesis,
Yeah.
Happiness Patrol, there was one more... Oh, Ghostlight, I haven't seen that one yet, but...
Because Happiness Patrol would have been unbearable at 4.
Yeah, it's true.
We don't know that.
And there have been a couple of ones that I enjoyed that were 4, but I do think they kind of suffered a little bit. I think Battlefield could have been better in 3.
Yeah.
Anything else about Dragonfire? I mean, it's a fun
What
one.
what was up with the little girl and the teddy bear and the horrible mother who didn't know that her child was missing, while everybody else was sentenced to, hey, hurry up and get to the spaceship, and then died. We saw this girl running around and doing her thing, and then the mom shows up at the end. Oh, there you are. I don't know if I feel relieved that you survived or not. Quite honestly,
I really got the impression that they were that maybe it was something there that was put there and was going to be more. There was going to be some sort of a little underlying thing going on there, or it was supposed to say something or be poetic or something. And it's almost like they did it, and then a chunk it didn't work, or they left a chunk out of it, but then they just left that part in there. It was almost like they
had to cut for time.
Well, it was almost like
when she puts the bear in the cryo bed, that scene in particular, because the computer even starts talking, and it's almost like, oh, this is going to play into his defeat. Is that it's not going to be through some grand machination. It's not going to be something the doctor comes up with. It's going to be the little girl and teddy bear that undoes him. No.
Yeah, and that's the impression I got, is that they were doing, there some symbolisms with innocence or youth or something that just is not there, and maybe I wish I had this disc because I'd like to watch some of the special features, especially if there's a documentary or something that would kind of explain it. Because I've always kind of thought there must have been more intended there, but it got left out or got cut, and then they left what was there.
Deleted and extended scenes, only 10 minutes of.
We didn't watch it, so
I don't know. Maybe it would mean more.
She was kind of cute with the alien, though.
She was cute. All right.
Oh, we didn't really talk about the dragon and his...
We didn't talk about the dragon.
Do we need to?
/ robot / any number of things.
I'm okay. I was okay with it.
Making him robotic, I think, helped.
That it wasn't a literal dragon.
If that was their
Well, I like the idea that it was
literal dragon, I'd have been disappointed.
It was this guardian of this...
Yeah.
Whatever
Crystal
it was.
thing.
Yeah.
The dragon fire.
Yeah, the dragon fire.
I liked the fact... For some reason, making him a robotic, not a biologic, helped the costume, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so, too.
Had it been a biologic dragon that looked like that, I'd have been... But being a robot, for some reason... Okay.
Yeah, forgiving. And being the guardian, and then the drill message coming up in the Fortress of Solitude setting, and explaining what was going on and what the dragon was for. And it was cool.
And really, you pair this with, especially Battlefield. Is that the right one? Yeah. It continues or starts the very Merlin-esque-ness of the Seventh Doctor, which I think is apt for the way he portrays the character. He's on a quest to kill a dragon, or to find a dragon the entire time.
I guess I could buy that. I hadn't thought of that.
Wow, I hadn't thought of that.
I thought of that while watching it. Of course, Brittany's tweets about making jokes about Hobbit probably helps make that link easier.
So what's next?
That was fun.
Remembrance will be next.
Drew did not know that McCoy was
Radagast
until I pointed that out to him at work, and he went, "Oh, really?"
Is there? That would be cool to find.
It seems like it's a
recurring
theme
for that season.
Well, they're separate seasons. I think it almost feels like a recurring theme for his run.
Well,
at least on television.
Well, but I mean, he had 4 stories before that I can't find any connection to.
3 before this one.
Yeah, this one's the end of that first season.
Oh, it is 3 because it would have been Time. It would have been Paradise Towers,
Delta,
and then Delta the Vetterman. Yeah.
Despite the Cybermen, there is still kind of I could see it a little bit in Silver Nemesis, especially with the back and forth in time in Silver Nemesis. That's what I'm thinking of, right?
Yeah.
Or am I thinking of Remembrance?
No, the back and forth in time where he keeps going back.
He has to go back and
Lady Fancy Pants' outfit.
Which is almost Arthurian time setting.
I thought that was Battlefield.
Was that bad?
Battlefield was the Arthurian one, wasn't it?
Well, that's the one where they actually reference Merlin as Battlefield, which is kind of where I got the idea from. But in Silver Nemesis, he kind of travels back and forth, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. He goes back to, because Lady Fancy Pants is there causing problems, so he goes back in time to find out
17th century sorceress.
What she knows, and he talks to her alchemist or whatever he is.
Oh, that's right.
About she went to go do this. He goes, oh, okay, and then he comes back.
So there's at least 3 stories where I can kind of see it, and that's only based off what I've seen.
Well, you're getting to the point where you've seen most of McCoy's run, but maybe at some point we'll just watch them in order.
Oh, that would help.
That will help that.
Yes.
Even almost the end of Greatest Show in the Galaxy, a little bit, with the Ragnarok stuff. I don't know why I associate Ragnarok with...
Well, even in Remembrance of the Daleks, there's kind of this weird Arthurian idea of he buried this hand of Omega.
Yeah.
Previously, and then he digs it up as the ultimate weapon to destroy the planet for the Dalek planet. It seems
what, you mean like that author's name?
It seems like there's something going on there. Did I say Arthurian? Arthurian.
No, like he goes to destroy the Dalek planet. You know, like that author's name.
Yeah. Scarrow? Huh.
I don't know.
Now I want to go back and watch McCoy's era again.
Ever since I saw Battlefield, I was like, that's what he really is, the Merlin of the Doctors.
Yeah.
A bit more eccentric, a bit more comedic and fun. Because despite how most people have portrayed Merlin, I kind of imagine him to be kind of the fool.
You kind of imagine him as he was in Sword and Stone?
A little bit. yeah. Now that you mentioned that, that's
That's always been my Merlin.
That's always been my Merlin,
because
more than like.
Really, that's your first introduction.
Well, as much as
was.
I enjoy the Sam Neill Merlin miniseries, or the
I haven't watched the Merlin show. So
Merlin
I don't
and
know.
Excalibur is really the Merlin that I ended up going, oh, that's probably more like Merlin. But
And the Merlin and King Arthur is way removed.
way removed. But yeah, the Sword and Stone Merlin
Yeah, but
is kind of my Merlin,
that movie's pretty far removed from
yeah.
Arthur. And
based on
Legend.
historical evidence.
Which is why I liked King Arthur as much as I did, because it was more actual fact-based.
It wasn't, but yes.
Well, it would try
no,
to
somebody came up and conceptualized a new story is what they did. It wasn't fact-based.
Fact based.
No.
They did archaeological research.
Yes.
They're not even sure which king was actually Arthur. So.
It was Arthur.
But there hasn't been an Arthur in the line. That's the point.
That's what they were saying.
not
That's
sure
what the
which one.
archaeological evidence suggested, is that there was this guy from the Roman legion who was there, but he was there hundreds of years before anybody would have thought that the Arthurian legend happened. And that's why it works. I enjoyed it. Don't poo-poo on my rainbow. All right, well, that's it, I think, for Dragonfire.
Yep.
We liked it.
So we move on to Shockwave.
Shockwave is next.
In the far future, the inhabitants of Tarsus 6 face a desperate struggle to evacuate their world before their sun, Tarsus Ultra collapses into a cataclysmic spatial anomaly.
Dun, dun, dun! I loved this.
This is a
I
very-
could tell.
There was not a thing wrong
I'm not
with
sure I
this one.
agree with your level of dun-dun-dun.
Oh, there was not a thing wrong with this
This
one.
is one of the
This was
strongest
good.
ones we've had.
Definitely.
I think of, yes.
Of the Destiny of the Doctor
Destiny of the
series,
Doctor
I will go on
So
record
far.
now as saying this is the strongest, best story in the 7 we've listened to so far.
I thought Battlesphere was still better than this one.
I,
But yeah,
I love Battlesphere. I think this
yeah.
one's...
This one was good.
I think
this one was at least
there's
at least
three
second.
that are about all the same.
What was your other one?
Second Doctor one.
Oh,
you're basing that on Jamie's
No,
performance.
the story
see, that's
itself.
I'm the same way because I
This-
thoroughly enjoyed that one, but the story was just okay, but the performance was fantastic. So
This has everything that you want from a Doctor Who story. It moves, the pacing is good, we land, we have a problem, we worm our way into it, we get in trouble, there's chases, escapes, we're locked up in jail, and there's that constant, never-ending threat of this shockwave catching them. Genius. Top to bottom, well done.
the author of this one really had the Seventh Doctor feel
Yes.
to it, right? And I think part of it was the synthesizer music that was accompanied. I think the performance of Sophie Aldred was part of it, but really it was written in such a way that this one would have translated to a Seventh Doctor story on TV very easily,
Very
really
easily.
well.
very easily. And I think that's what made it thoroughly enjoyable. Is I listened to this and I could just picture this as a story in Sylvester McCoy's era.
It's set within the confines of the era so
Yes.
well,
Yes.
and everything was done. Sophie Aldred did a fantastic job. I loved her narration. I love the fact that she was able to slip into Ace.
The Ace was really
I
good.
enjoyed. It took me a little bit to get used to how she was portraying the Seventh Doctor.
Yeah.
But once I figured out what she was doing, I was fine with it because she hit kind of what
This
the...
is-
She hit it somewhat, but
Here's
I think
the
she
thing.
put the accent too thick.
Yes, she did. Is this is the Scottish Doctor? I mean,
Yeah.
we've always said that
Which I
he
never
has
thought of
the
that
Scottish,
until of this.
He does have. Well, that's just it. It's not as heavy. He doesn't have the Scottish. What is it, Baroque? As heavy as she, I felt, was putting an emphasis on the Baroque. Now she was doing it to hit the R's, I think,
Yeah.
to roll those R's. But I think she
She was
put a
struggling
little
to
too
hit
much
some of those
interest.
Rs.
Well,
Yeah.
and the other
She
thing
put
that
a
I
little
think
too much
is,
emphasis on
having
it.
seen him, I think Sylvester McCoy probably toned it down for the show
I think that's probably
because
absolutely right.
he
Yeah.
very much talks like that in real
He does.
life.
He really
And
does.
I think that Sophie Aldred probably spent so much time with McCoy not only on camera but offset as well.
That's a good
I would
point.
agree.
That's she wasn't necessarily doing the Doctor; she was doing Sylvester
Sylvester
McCoy.
McCoy. That makes
and
sense.
so that's why it came across that way. And then once I figured that out, I was like,
I hadn't thought of that, but she still does a fine job.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
she
she still.
does.
I think as Holly pointed out, she does sort of have that intonation.
and she did a great job with 9J because I didn't realize at first that wasn't her.
Yeah,
She did a really
that
good
was,
job with
that
9J.
was where she just really differentiated in characters was when she was doing 9J.
Yeah.
Wow.
It took me a minute to realize because then when the captain started talking, Owen or Ian,
Owen.
whatever, Owen,
01. They were
It took me like halfway through to realize.
they were a
that's
letter and a number.
A letter
Oh,
and a number.
one.
Each one
Okay.
of them were. So you had 01,
oh, and
9J.
K, I didn't
And
think
K
of
the other
that.
was
K6.
K6. Yeah.
I didn't think of that. When
it took
01
me halfway through to
Started-
figure that out
I'm not the only
myself.
one.
So don't feel bad.
no, I didn't catch that at all.
I
That's
kept
even
thinking,
cooler now. That's a
why?
genius.
Why is his name Owen and hers is 9J and K6? That seems really weird. And then I realized,
One.
one.
Yeah, that's what I did. I was most of the way. I was probably halfway through it when I went. Oh, it's a number and a letter each one of them.
That's even more cool. 'Cause that's something an alien society would totally do. That was an offshoot of Earth. I believe that absolutely. But just when he started to talk, my brain kind of reset for a minute. And went, "What? Did they get a third actor?" Because
I was thinking sort of the same thing because I kept thinking 9J as being another actress, and it was Sophie Aldred just doing a wonderful job.
just doing so well with it. But I loved the written descriptions of the storm and the explosion and the lightning and the tempest and the maelstrom, just all the verbal language that went into that. I really appreciated. I thought that was incredibly well done.
Well, it did a really good job of conveying the danger.
Yeah.
The always present danger of it.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like the inclusion of the communication box and the fact that it was a question mark on it.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice
That's
touch.
Seventh Doctor era right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. I love the fact that they're there to steal. They're there to steal, and they say it. They were there to steal
This voice of stone.
the voice of stone, and the Doctor still is putting such a spin on it that we're really borrowing it. It's mine anyway. You know, that was just it was just such a wonderful.
And
he just admits, we're going to steal this thing, but he still has that little edge of, but really it's okay because it's mine.
Well,
And it's kind of a nice callback
We're really
to
just
Remembrance.
borrowing it.
yeah.
I just got to get a message.
That worked on so many different levels because didn't see that coming at all. When she finally, okay, why don't you tell me why we're really here? And of all of the possible things that could have come out of his mouth, we're going to rob a bank vault.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
While they're already on the way to the bank vault. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not even
On the
before
way.
they're getting
Yeah.
ready to. It's like they're already on the way.
Well, we're walking to it now. So the mental gears of my mind went, okay, switch gear. Okay, I'm ready. What? And Ace is caught up now, and we're going through the thing. He goes, well, and she kind of starts leading him with this line of questioning about,
She's totally leading him in the questions.
your pilfering stuff, which brought up which Big Finish was it that we listened to where
Well, that was the 8th Doctor one.
was it an Eighth Doctor one where he apparently has dabbled into
Yeah. It was,
snaking historical artifacts out of things that are going to blow up?
Where Venus is sinking. Or not Venus. Venice is sinking.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but I'd forgotten about that. You know what I zeroed in on? The books that the 7th Doctor had borrowed from the library and never returned.
Oh,
That's the
a good
first thing
point.
that I went to was, well, that sort of, nibbles a little bit at that idea. The fact that, well, he justifies it because he's still just borrowing these books, but he never had intentions of taking them back.
But so I totally thought, okay, this is where we're going to go with it, and he's going to steal something of artistic value because the ship's going to be destroyed.
Right.
No, it's already mine.
Yeah, exactly.
What? I love the fact that I was kept off balance through that whole middle section of it.
It's not even just that, Sean. It's early on. You're trying. They
of Venice.
show up, and you think they're there to help. Yeah, there you go. They're there to help and, prevent something from happening or rescue somebody when it's going to happen. And you're going all along. And he's telling Ace, no, this has to happen. This just, they were not here to do that. And then when it is dropped that, well, we're here to rob a bank vault. It was like, just like you said, and then to flip back when you realize that it's mine.
Yeah. And
What?
I love the fact that
It was like the hand of Omega all over again. It was like
it does. It really
I'm
has
stealing
echoes
it
of that.
back.
I love the fact that we get introduced to 9J through this,
Is our cult?
well, first, just again, the setting that, she's across the platform. It reminded me of Close Encounters when everybody's trying to get the heck out of Dodge because they think there's that poison anthrax gas or something. And so there's just this crowded train station and two people happen to meet. And, we get that connection. I love that. But she gets rescued and she's on the ship. And something bad happens. And so immediately we're going, oh, great, it's 9J. And we don't spend any time on it.
Yeah.
It openly admits, yep, I'm the one that did it. And I'm like, oh, thank you. There's no mystery here because I knew who did it. And you didn't keep me in elevated suspense over that.
I had forgotten 9J was even anywhere
Well, they didn't insult you
when
Exactly.
when the explosion happened. So I thought, as soon as Ace realized, oh, it's 9J, that's when I realized it was 9J. Which I thought was well written.
But then
in a way that I got distracted by the fact of this possible threat.
And I think you're supposed to.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't done in such a way that then it was
Where
like
it was a big
she had to
mystery
go
afterwards.
confront 9J and find out, no, 9J, I didn't do it. Well, of course 9J did it, but,
Right.
Yeah.
now you're trying
insult
to...
you with
we're
that.
not
Yeah.
even going to bother with
I agree.
MacGuffin. Yes, I did it. And so now you're like, well, crap, what are we going to do now? Because Ace has brought her on the ship, and it's her responsibility, and how's the Doctor going to react to that? So then we finally get to the cube and the message inside. And again, 9J's kind of background. She's kind of forgotten in the rush to get all of this information out.
But she's not. She
Until-
is, but yeah.
until it happens, and then it's like, well, I'll take his place. And it's like,
Well,
it's a perfectly contained little story.
Well, I'll tell you, some of that is not surprised, though, because you're not taken away by surprise because some of it's peppered in because she's conveying her reverence for this device.
Yeah.
In the meantime, now not over the top, they're not telegraphing that she's going to be the one that takes the place, but you can already tell that she's a little off kilter because her religion is shaken a bit just based on this box. So you see that already, just a glimmer of that, so that when she does volunteer, you're like,
of course,
it's not like out of left field.
Yeah.
It's not. It didn't come out of left field. It's like, wow, that totally makes sense. She even mentions that it wasn't until she heard the box speak that it did change, her mind, but it didn't come clear out of left field.
Well, it felt like it was a gradual progression.
Exactly. It could have so easily been the author just felt like, here's a way to fix this.
Yeah. It was
all because of that previous conversation Ace had and how strong of a character Ace is in this entire thing.
Yeah. And I loved, again, Sophie's portrayal of the 11th Doctor.
She did I have to admit, everyone who has read the 11th Doctor has done a really good job capturing him. I think all 7 so far have done a good job with it. Of course, Susan didn't really do much, but from what I remember.
No, there wasn't,
we didn't
But they heard him on the radio.
a fragment of it,
Yeah.
But she did that.
But whoever's writing for the 11th Doctor is writing it right and writing it in a way so it's easy for anybody to, who it is.
Yeah.
And I'm frustrated because I didn't want to come into this one. And there was a part of me that was thinking 4 and 7 are kind of my favorite classic Doctors. Are these going to be the 2 stories out of this bunch that I really latch onto and like the best? And unfortunately, it happened that way. But I've gone back and I've really taken a hard look at the other ones. And I don't think it's that I'm showing favoritism. I think it's just that these are written better.
No, yeah.
Because I was worried about that coming into
I think
tonight.
you're right. Well, I didn't enjoy this. I didn't think this was as superb as you did, but I thoroughly enjoyed this story as well. And my stance although my stance is changing on the 7th Doctor, the more I am entertained by the 7th Doctor. But
I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And one of my favorite classic Doctors is Pertwee. And that was one
that was a stinker.
It's not just your view of it.
Okay. I needed the validation.
Anything else about Shockwave?
think
I
so.
mean-
It's really well done. It's wrapped up nicely, and the story's concise. The performance is wonderfully done, and it's very well written. So
And if you haven't listened to it yet, it's very well worth your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The nice thing about these two, and I think we've been saying this all along, is they're an hour.
Yeah.
They're
Not as long.
They're such a wonderful, manageable amount of length in order to get through one of these. You don't have to spend a lot of time with them.
Unlike the next live.
Yeah, the
or
next line for Zagreus.
Zagreus. Even some of the good ones that are a little heavy.
I wondered why you had that upside down. Then I realized it's because you can't charge with it the other way.
I can't charge anything. Not to go into the comic book.
Yes.
All right, so finally, for this review, which we really shoved 3 in this week, didn't we? I didn't realize we did that.
That's
until-
good.
Good thing I did all of my homework.
Still manageable time.
You know, we're
getting close.
We're at 2.5 right now.
Oh, are
we
we?
Yeah, we
haven't
got-
even done the comic book
But the
yet,
comic
so-
books never take long, and we had
No,
a lot of
they don't.
feedback.
You know.
I don't think I've ever seen that image of McCoy before.
I don't think I have either.
Where's,
He looks grumpy.
He looks very grumpy.
where's my review? Where's my file?
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, you got a synopsis for this one? Is that
No.
what you're looking for?
No, I'm just trying to look for the file so I can refresh myself while
Sorry,
looking
I'm
through it.
wrapping all up there. And then there's the Quantum Leap cover.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Okay, well, since Keith's looking for his, Glenn, why don't you start us off?
Sorry, I just like to pull it up and
Do you want to dun this one so we just do all 3 of them here?
Dun, dun, dun.
You got okay. Actually, of the Prisoner of Time ones, I enjoyed this one a lot. Better than some of the others that we've had recently.
What's nice is this one, while it builds on the mythology, is its own encapsulated story.
It is. It really is.
Unlike 6, where it left a lot of stuff hanging,
Or even 5.
Or
that
even
had
5 that
just that small.
where nothing happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something actually happens.
Right. This has a beginning, middle, and end. And this really feels like the pacing that we had in the first, the second, maybe not so much the third, the fourth. So
Yeah.
this would. So I ranked this up there with those.
And then on top of it,
I did think it was kind of strange to use the Master again, because even though we didn't get a lot of Master in 6, there was a sub-story going on there.
oh yeah, that's true.
And we kind of got that.
I forgot
we
about
got
that.
left with that because that really wasn't part of what was going on.
So then that makes me wonder if part of what was going on there ties back into what he's doing here.
See, I don't think so. I think because I think that's a Master that was unaware of what's going on, and this is a Master now that solely is aware of
yeah.
what's going on.
And I think that was my problem with it. Is that while I enjoyed the idea that, I'm never going to turn down a Master story.
And it's completely in the Master. I mean, it's completely a Master story.
It's very much
it is the
a
Master
Master
using
plot.
another species or planet or something to his benefit, and
But the
with disregard for the
Yeah.
repercussions.
unfortunately, the verbal sparring, which was so great, but should something happen to your aunt and uncle, you would be the lord of the manor? Yes. The master of the house, as it were? Yes, the master. Well, thanks for blowing the surprise. I mean,
I don't know.
there's
As soon as the
no
as soon
doubt
as-
in my mind now
You
that
know
this
what,
guy's
though?
the
As
master.
soon as the Doctor engaged in that conversation and basically lambasted him, engaged in that combative discussion, I already went there before he got to that point. I already went there that this is the Master in
Right.
disguise. And the Doctor knows it.
Yeah.
The Doctor already knows it.
But then we get the big. I mean, are you? Perhaps you would know me better, Doctor, in a familiar form. And he transforms into Anthony Ainley. Say my name, like
No.
we don't know who you are.
He transforms into Anthony Ainley's head on
On Eric Roberts' body.
body. I was surprised to see them go to that wardrobe. It's almost like whoever did this one was a fan of the Master.
In fairness, he did wear that kind of... In the Five Doctors, he wore the kind of big
true,
collar.
But this one's got a lot more flair.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on in this one.
Yeah. He's dressing for the occasion.
He's dressing for the occasion. I liked the story.
I did too. I thought it was a fine story.
The monster kind of sucking off the energy of the...
It was really kind of a Monster of the Week story with being the Master being the monster in this one. You know,
It was.
I liked Ace's portrayal in this. I thought she didn't stand out, but she also wasn't relegated to the background like some of the companions have in some of these stories. She was utilized really well. I appreciated the introduction of the nursemaid and the fact that the doctor essentially, or the Master essentially hires her because he couldn't be a nursemaid himself, and he would have to in order to accomplish what he's trying to accomplish here. So,
and because, as the doctor says, he would not stoop to...
Right, exactly.
You know, no matter how grand his disguise
Stoop to
was,
that.
he wouldn't stoop to emptying a bedpan.
Right,
That's just
exactly.
not who he is.
And so I liked that. And as Chrissy pointed out, I think it was Chrissy, that no one but Ace could make a leather jacket and a
Victorian
look
dress.
good with a Victorian dress.
The only, I guess, real qualm that I've got with the way this one's put together is that after the big reveals of the Sixth Doctor story, I think I was expecting a little bit more of the overarching plot,
Yes, because
and a little less of a standalone.
we have, obviously, Frobisher's coming back into play.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Frobisher's already... I thought the same thing. It felt like 5 and 6... the fifth and sixth stories kind of advanced the plot and letting us see what was kind of going on behind the scenes of what was being set up by this mysterious villain. But this one goes back to being kind of an encapsulated story.
It almost feels very much like, okay, we've gone 1 through 6 to give you this much of the story. Now we're resetting and going
Right.
back, and we're going to do
That's
it
what
again with
felt
the
like.
next group
Yeah,
of doctors.
That's totally what it felt like.
And maybe that will work to kind of imply that all of these are happening simultaneously within their own respective time streams.
Sure. And that could be why.
So again, maybe I'll enjoy some of these more once we get to the end.
But yeah, that the arcing story there didn't feel like it was furthered much, other than we know the Master is aware of it, whereas in the past I didn't get the impression that the villain of the week knew, or villain of the month, I suppose I should say, knew of what was going on.
Well, and his whole purpose is to feed the energy to this guy.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, it's not just
there's
he
more
knows what's
there.
going on. It's the whole crux of this is whoever this bad guy is.
Is using,
This former companion.
which I just kind of wonder who it could be. Is it Adric?
Adam.
Adam? What's Adam?
That's who I think.
Oh, good God.
Well, he
Actually,
got
I
left in
hope.
that future space station.
Well, I'll tell you, it's
doesn't
somebody
die.
after 7.
No, he goes home.
It is a companion after 7 because he says you haven't met him yet.
Does he?
Which shot down my Adric theory. And Adric, I think, really was the strongest candidate for this
Wasn't
particular
he one of the
story.
ones that got taken?
He was.
Yeah.
But that and the you haven't met him yet happened in the same issue,
Of course
didn't
you
they?
haven't met. No, that's this one.
No.
It's,
That was this
I have
one.
been
Oh, was it this
working
one?
with a new partner. He's an old friend of yours, or should I say companion? Of course
Okay.
not, because you haven't met
Met
him
him
yet.
yet. So that's why I knew it had to be after
Oh,
7.
because he says I have no idea who you're talking
So
about.
it could be Yiji. Or he's not Yiji in the... What is he in
The Asian
What
child.
the heck's his name? I never can remember his
Well,
name.
and Ace,
Li Chang.
Li Chang. It could
Grace
be Li
is coming
Chang.
back for Eight's comic.
I thought we determined that she wasn't.
No, she's not coming back for the audio. She's coming back for the comic.
She is coming back for
For
the
the comic, not the audio.
I thought we did. I thought we said that, and then we
he
determined that she
flopped it
wasn't.
in his mind.
I did?
Yeah,
Because I thought...
you were the one that posted it on Facebook of
It's
not.
definitely
And it was
Charlie.
the audio.
Oh, you're right. It's definitely
definitely
Charlie. Yeah,
Charlie
you're
in the
right then. I
audio.
did flip it. It is Grace in the comic.
It is Grace.
It is
Still
Grace
Still
in the
for
comic.
sure Grace in
I
the
think so.
comic. That blows my mind. That means if they were able to get the rights in the comic,
Maybe.
then they've obviously ironed something out with Universal.
'Cause I believe it was on the press release.
Well, anyway.
Or maybe maybe IDW just
I guess
said,
it could be. Maybe that's. Oh.
Maybe IDW said, screw it, we're moving ahead with Grace. And BBC is why they canceled the,
Although we know
the
it's
licensing with
we
them.
know it's a he, though, too. They've been dropping
Yeah.
the fact that it's a he, so it can't be Grace. But that would be really cool because we have no other Grace stories.
That's true.
So that's like a fresh set of, hey, here we go. We can use. Of course, if Grace is coming back, you could then that seems like you could use Li Chang as well now too. There must be an okay there, but
So-
it could be Li Chang. It could be Adam. It could be
Who knows who?
who else has the Doctor traveled with since? Seven?
It could be somebody we've never met before.
Could be
Let's be
Captain
honest.
Jack.
Could be Captain Jack, who does fit with the time manipulator.
Interesting. So, well, there's some speculation there. You got a schedule pulled up?
Yes, I do.
All right. What's coming up next on the schedule?
Well,
Sean?
next week,
Oh, I mean Keith.
because
I know.
yes,
The Green Death for Friday Night Who. At least the
and
first.
Start the first three.
First three parts.
stories for Friday Night Who, August 23rd, and then
Which-
next week on the podcast.
By the way, that is on
That
Netflix,
is on
right
Netflix.
now. Still on there for now.
For episode 138, we review Sarah Jane Adventure Season 4, as we already talked about earlier this episode.
And it sounds like Sean and I are most of the way through it now. Or
And
halfway
then-
through it.
You're halfway, Emily. Mostly. Not halfway.
You've watched two stories, right?
I watched 2 stories.
Oh, okay.
The way you posted this was weird to me.
Why?
I think the Friday Night Who should be above the episodes.
It is.
No, because we'll finish. Oh wait,
Apparently it is.
I'm confused. Oh, okay, never mind.
Things that Sean does confuse me as well, so I sympathize.
So, and then 139 will review the 7th Doctor Revisited, as well as the 50th anniversary discussion of the 7th Doctor era. And then for 830, we watch The Green Death, and then
Review.
140, yeah.
Is there a review?
Something doesn't seem right to me on that.
That doesn't seem right. What did you read?
I read what you posted. Okay. Oh, you have the date wrong.
Oh, that might... Well,
The 16th is the Friday Night Who we start The Green Death.
that's
1:30
next week, right? That's this week is Green Death.
Yeah, 16th. And then the 23rd we wrap up Green Death.
So we're reviewing on the
It'd be
25th.
Yeah, which would be episode 139.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We're still doing Sarah Jane next week because it's in the middle of the Green Death.
Yes.
Because we're only watching 1 through 3, so we won't have anything to review, which is why I did
Right.
that.
This
So that
is
we can
why we're
review.
doing Sarah Jane
Why we're
Adventures.
doing Sarah Jane. And also...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I skipped a line. I'm wrong. 816 is the Sontaran experiment.
That's next week.
That's next week.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
you
jumped
jumped
ahead.
ahead. Okay.
Okay.
Where-
I led you wrong. I led you there. I'm sorry.
Since we're doing Sontaran experiment.
For Sarah Jane.
For Sarah
That's
Jane
why I did
Adventure
that.
Season
Okay.
4. And then the 23rd is the...
Ah, that's why you did it, because Sarah Jane's in that.
Because Sarah Jane's in that.
So the dates I said was correct.
And it's only a two-parter.
And it's only 2 parts, so another short one. We've had a lot of short ones.
Shorter than even last week. So
Well, we had
And-
a new episode, and
It
then a
gives
3-parter,
you-
and then a 2-parter.
that's what
It
I'm saying.
gives
So
you
it's even shorter than last week.
Nearly 2 weeks to pick up the Green Death because it comes out on Tuesday, the
Right.
special edition.
Right.
And so then it won't be that Friday, it'll be the Friday after.
Okay, so Friday Night Who next week is Sontaran Experiment,
And then Sarah Jane Adventures
and
Season
Sarah Jane
4.
Adventures on the show. The following week is the Green Death Parts 1 through 3.
And then the show
And
after
we'll
that
be doing
is...
our 7th Doctor retrospective that week. And then the Friday Night Who after that is finishing up the Green Death, and then
And
we'll be
reviewing
discussing
it
the
on
Green
the
Death.
show.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
That's it?
Bring your computer next week so we don't have to go through that.
Yeah, no lie. Well, Mel will have hopefully well, she's got 2 weeks, so maybe not. She will have completed half of her Fire Inspector 1
Is
class.
this not
at
on
that point.
Wi-Fi? You could have brought it up on there.
No, it is on
You've
Wi-Fi. I
got-
didn't think about
you've
that.
got Safari.
All I needed was pull up... You pull up a Word document normally, don't you?
Yeah, normally I just pull up the
Oh.
Word
I just went to the
document.
website.
I go straight to the source when I... What did I type? Maybe that's right.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we need to wrap up this week, or we're good?
7th Doctor rocks, Ace rocks.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Well, if that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Let's go to Canada. Let's leave today. Canada, oh Canada. I see through play.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex, Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
Jackson Lords, we all think that's kind of a drag. That you have to go there to get milk in a bag.